Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What is going on? Camera looks funny, but it's good. It is good. We are in the building. You know, when we do this thing on Sunday, we will be joined by Ike, who's down in the bottom, who's in the back chat right now. About to bring him on up and about to get this thing started. I'd like to thank everybody who's coming on in. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Let everybody know that you are here. And without further ado, let's go. Let's get it. Ike, are you there?
Am I? Can you hear me? Bernard?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, you look like you got a little extra fly today. You got the bow tie and the whole little whole little get up going on.
Yeah, I saw your thumbnail and I snapped my fingers. I'm like, psh, psh.
What's going on with the setup? You got a standing desk now? You got the standing desk thing going on?
Yeah. Interesting. I've had the standing desk for the past 3 weeks now. Maybe you just didn't notice it.
But you have been sitting.
In the like prior to that, like a month ago, I was sitting, but for the past 3 weeks, I've been standing.
Really?
Yeah.
Even
it almost
on my
looked the
show?
same. Yeah, that board though was on the floor, similar to when I was sitting and all that kind of stuff. But I guess now you just noticed it because I don't know, because I maybe walked away and you kind of saw the. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. No, I barely noticed at all. Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm glad you noticed.
That's interesting. No, it's cool. What made you go with that? What made you go with the standing desk, like a professor teaching right now? You can turn around right on the blackboard. You know,
I've always had this standing desk here, and it was always the because just for obvious reasons, right? Like I have my sitting situation over there. I have I have different kind of workstations. I have my little whiteboard, big whiteboard, little sitting computer desk, little writing desk, and then the stand-up desk because it's just more convenient. I'm one of those kinds of people that you're thinking and you're walking and that kind of thing.
yeah,
It's a little easier for me. Plus, there's that whole thing which I preach on my channel. Well, one of the things is changing positions and changing tasks. You may be burnt out from doing spreadsheets. Well, just switch to a writing or switch from your computer to a different medium. Switch from the kitchen to a different place. But basically, also you can switch from standing up to sitting down. Or switch from writing on a piece of paper to writing on the whiteboard. You'll be surprised how you get energy back just by changing the medium that you're using and your position and location. You know what's up.
got you. Yeah, that's interesting. That might be beneficial for me because I'm a daydream. I'm a pacer. I pace and I daydream, but when I daydream, sometimes it's a productive daydream where I'm really thinking about something that matters or plotting and planning my next move. And I like to pace back and forth when I'm doing that. So that may be beneficial for me. So it's like I'm still kind of working. I didn't get out of the swing of working. I just walked over here while I was thinking and then just paced back and then got back into it, So yeah,
Exactly.
that may be something I need to consider. Maybe something I need to consider. We got some good stuff on the docket today for everybody. But I did notice you in the chat on what was that? That was not yesterday's, Friday's show with the male feminists. I do just want your opinion, your recap of what you observed in that conversation.
You see. Well, in case you haven't noticed by now, I'm quite impatient with certain kinds of things. Right? Like,
yeah,
so, like,
that's the reason why I like asking your opinion on that type of stuff, because I know that I got patience. I could talk to somebody like that for an hour. I know you just got zero tolerance for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but, I can't stand it. No, it is not about the topic. It is not about the conversation, right? Now, granted, the whole male feminist type of moniker, if you will, is a little provoking, right? It's male feminist or feminism in these spaces, and then male feminist. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter if it's male or not, but that kind of thing's already kind of provoking things. But even granted that, there are ways of having philosophical conversations. In other words, like if you went back to the 1800s, we're all kind of feminists relative to them. You know what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So exactly. So it's like just using that as a picture, you can kind of see, okay, well, yeah, it's not about the ideas per se. It's just that, in my opinion, this guy was doing a lot of goalpost shifting and sassiness that I cannot stand from a man, especially a man. It's like, why? Anyways, this is a human being I'm talking about, right? So on YouTube, that came to your channel and was able to take the heat for the time he was able to take it. So I don't want to, like, quote unquote, bash him or something. Yeah. But I think that other people that were listening, for the most part, he wasn't doing that. But once you do that kind of thing, it just completely throws off everything. Like it just becomes, he was doing that cat fight thing and the sass thing. And I think he once referred to himself as a high value man. I'm like,
He did like three times. Yeah.
It's like, and I'm like, dude, you don't say that. So all that kind of stuff just put me off. I was just like, you know what? Screw this. I just, yeah. So those are my thoughts.
You just had to check out, had the exit stage left on that one.
Unfortunately. But I came back, and I saw as the Avengers assembled.
Yeah, that was funny.
I saw Game Changer and Obsidian and Fantastic. I was like, okay. I was just looking at the screen, I wasn't listening, but I was like, okay, I'm sure what's going on here. But every time I would chime in, and anyways, it was the topic is a good topic. I don't think that he represented his side of the argument well. He's not the best representative. They should find a better spokesman. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he said he was writing a book on relationships too. I think that ended up being one of the first questions. Male feminists writing a book on relationships, but look at a lot of feminist ideals. That's part of what brings people back together. Now we got off subject of that, but he said, but why are women not wanting to stay with men, and why are they not wanting to be with men? And I tend to believe that when if we would have really went down that rabbit hole, the conversation would have ended ultimately with his view and perspective. Men just need to bend and bow down and basically submit to what it is that the women want. That's just my opinion. I can't, I didn't get to pin them down on that one, but that's where I think it was going to end up going.
Yeah, with these things, I think that I tend to agree with MOT. Okay. Now, if you are in an environment or you're in a situation where you are acquiescing to what women want, right? Even women will tell you, right? That's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Even women will tell you that that's a recipe for them not respecting you, because you're like, you're acquiescing to me. I'm like this today and like this tomorrow and like this the next day and like this. Like, why would you acquiesce to me? I know how I am, and it's not like I can control it. In other words, I'm being generous here to women and giving them the benefit of the doubt, which is that they understand, being susceptible to emotional pressures and social pressures and right?
Yeah.
So but they expect a man not to be falling for that BS. They expect a man to be the rock, the solid, the provider, protector, so on and so forth. Then if you're over here telling me, oh, well, what do you want now? Well, how do I bend to your will now? How do I structure society in order? It's like, dude, that's what leads to disaster. And it's not like we don't have empirical evidence to show how that happens, right? Or what it leads to. But anyways, I think that MOT has a very good summary. And I think actually I stumbled upon a video of yours where you were interviewing MOT about the whole game thing. And I think that some people misunderstand why he doesn't like the game. It's not because of game. It's because of the particular people whom, generally speaking, you need to use game on. In other words, game is, what does the woman want? And once you go into that door of what does the woman want, it's risky, dodgy, chaotic business.
Yeah, definitely. Totally understand. I'm right now. Well, okay, my thumbnail was a little cut off. Oh well, I'll fix that later. Okay. It's like the guys' heads are cut off on the thumbnail. I didn't realize that. I'll try to fix it. But here we go. Let's get into this topic. We normally have some interesting things going on here. You had we were emailing the topic, I guess what we came up with, or what you suggested, how to succeed as a man in the 21st century. And I always like to put a focus on black men in America. How do we succeed and overcome the oppressor? No, just play. I don't do that. But but yeah, that's where we at. That's where we going. So what more or less prompted this one? Where we're heading, so to speak.
Okay, now this is something that I am preoccupied with, generally speaking, both my
Mhm.
personal life and in my
Yeah.
channel, right? That's kind of what I'm about. It's all
Mhm.
about success. It's all about getting stuff done. It's all about also it's certain kind of looking forward, even though I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a planner, not a very strategic person. I'm more chaotic, if you will. But I like to kick off a conversation. And I think it's gonna span it's gonna be a series, right? Just like we
Yeah.
did that other series before, right? And about what it takes to succeed in the 21st century, and that hinges upon first what kinds of skills will be needed, what kinds of skills also are being phased out, and that in itself hinges upon the technological trends that we can take advantage of, like things that we can see, like okay, what kind of technological trends it may be in the area of bits, right? In the area of either the computer, what by bits, I mean, zeros and ones, software in terms of, let's say, uh, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and so on and so forth. It can
Mhm.
be in the area of atoms, like in the uh, carbon nanotubes and improvements in transportation, hyperloop, whatever it may be, those kinds of things. And also socioeconomic and demographic changes that we see, okay? Because there are many demographic changes that are occurring, and there are many technological changes that are occurring. As a matter of fact, they seem to be occurring at an exponential rate. In other words, I
Mhm.
think there was a quote that goes, there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are years when decades happen, right? So, and the more and more technology grows, the more these kinds of years when decades happen, when exponential growth, exponential changes in terms of our lifestyle and the economic landscape really happen. So, what then, if one is looking towards the future, whether you be young or old or whatever it may be, and you're trying to say, well, how do I succeed? How do I take advantage of these things? And also, there are habits and frames of mind, right? So, on the one hand, we talk about skills and then the things that hinge upon those skills. And then there are habits, there are frames of mind, there are shifts in the work life arrangements and patterns that we have. So, that is kind of what I wanted to talk about. That's what prompted it, because there's a rich landscape, if you will, all the way from, as I said, skills, habits, patterns, frames of mind, that are affected by technological, socioeconomic, demographic changes and patterns, stars that we can hitch our wagon to. And I also thought that well, let me go into it in this way. Like, there are phrases, for example, such as the gig economy, right? It's
Yeah.
one of the little phrases that describes, that people use to describe the economic state in the 21st century. Like, what comes to mind when people say that thing, the gig economy?
Yeah. I don't know. Like when I hear the gig economy, in my mind instantly goes to nanotechnology. I have no idea
Mm.
exactly what that means. So I'm behind on a lot of that. So
Interesting. That'll be interesting to see what the people in the chat. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before, the gig economy. Oh, it's Mother's Day, huh?
I've been told. You know what? My brother called me. No, I didn't say I'm bad at calling people back. My brother called me yesterday. It might have had something to do with Mother's Day. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe there's some big Mother's Day feast that I'm missing out on right now. I don't know what's going on, but no,
I see.
I
I see.
will call my lovely mother when we get off the show here today to tell her happy
Uh,
Mother's Day. And but no, I forget I have to be told on every holiday except for Christmas. We really can't miss Thanksgiving in America. Um,
hmm
and because I got kids, Halloween, and normally people kind of party on Halloween, so but yeah, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, oh, 4th of July, every other holiday, all the other ones, yeah, Halloween is sort of fading away too, but so 4th of July, because it's in the name of the
hmm
holiday, so you can't miss that. Christmas, Thanksgiving, every other holiday, everything I have to be told midway through the day, like, oh, it's what St. Patrick's Day. Oh, who knew? That's how I feel about all the other
I skip
holidays.
my birthday sometimes. Like, like for
Yeah.
me, like the proudest years, or like, well, there was this particular year when I literally, because what tends to happen is someone else reminds me, right? But there was this year when I actually went past the birthday. Like 2 days passed, and I was like, oh crap, it was my birthday. I was so proud of myself, because I don't like to pay attention to that kind of crap. And me not paying attention to that kind of crap means I'm living life well.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody else got you nothing or cared about your birthday either. Nobody.
I'm an introvert. I don't give a crap. So it doesn't matter to me anyway.
Nobody loves you. Well, you
It's all
married now.
good.
Maybe your wife will elbow you like, hey, it's your birthday, right?
Yeah.
You probably get an elbow from your wife. Maybe a
Unfortunately.
little. Maybe she'll remind you, keep you up on that.
But Goshen had something to say, which kind of summarizes the gig economy, basically, which is he said it. Gig economy equals, right, short-term employment. It means gig, like music.
I don't know what gig. I told you.
Yeah. So musicians do gigs, like they have a show, like a.
See,
I got a gig tonight.
I thought gigabyte.
I know when you said nanotechnology, I thought you. Yeah, I assumed that's where you were going. Oh, what happened to my camera? But it's about a gig. It's about Postmates, DoorDash, Uber, those kinds of things.
That's what the gig economy. Okay, all this time I didn't know that's what people meant by gig economy, like people doing short-term gigs, so to speak. When they say gig economy, I thought they were talking about gigabytes or something techie, and I was like, that's sort of out of my realm. But when I'm ready to research it, I will. But that's why I just pushed it over there out of my mind. But they're really talking about something. Something fairly basic. Well, maybe it's not so basic because there are people. I'm assuming the guy who owns Uber is getting rich off of it. But we're talking about something that people are doing that that wouldn't be considered very successful. Put it like that. If you're doing gigs, that's the thought. That's the baseline thought of it.
So that phrase, gig economy, it's an index, an indicator, a symptom of economic insecurity, right? So let's juxtapose it, if you will. I sound like Obsidian right now, using words like index and juxtaposition. Maybe I'm the other Obsidian, but he's a little. I think he's even a little bit more extra than me. But obviously, this is all compliments to Obsidian there with his words. But the 1950s, that decade that we all like to pick on, it's like 1950s. There's some kind of magical little 10-year period where it's like that's where we go find all our little examples of everything that is not now.
Yeah,
but back then, okay, which is the opposite of the gig economy, you could say, okay, I work at the GM plant or I work at the plant of wherever, right? And I'm going to work there for 40 years. I'm going to raise 3.5 children. I'm going to retire. I'm going to get this little watch. And also I'm going to get a pension, right? That is economic security, okay? The fact that we don't have that anymore is indexed by this phrase, gig economy, right? Which is, it's a nice little window dressing on a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Right?
They disguised it well because I didn't know what it was. So they disguised it pretty well.
I mean, and I'm sure people in the chat will agree. There's economic security is in a dire situation right now. Pensions and things such as, even 401ks, yeah, sure, but we know all the statistics about the Americans who don't have the $400 or the $1,000, or people who are going into retirement and don't have and barely have up to $50,000, and so on and so on and so forth. Also, people move the amount of time on average that people stay in a particular job. All these things are affected by many, many factors. Okay, economic and so on and so forth that we will get into in other. Let me.
Oh wait, I lost you. Oh no, I periodically go in and out from that just to give people a different view. So I keep it.
I think okay, this is a good. Yeah, when you do that, I'll do this.
Okay.
So, every now and then, okay, there come these times when, as a result of mismanagement and so on and so forth, we get into these kinds of funks. And by we, I mean just human societies in general, right? And in further parts of this series, we might get into those kinds of things. But I wanted to just kind of underscore here, gig economy, okay, index of economic insecurity. You need more money than you actually think you do. There is no such thing as the middle class anymore. Let me repeat that. The middle class was that guy who, with some kind of basic skill and hard work and so on and so forth, got into some kind of union, worked in some plant for 40 years, and it was fine. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the middle class. Now the middle class is $500,000 a year, and you might think, oh well,
Oh,
what do you mean?
time out. You said middle class is $500,000 a year?
That's the equivalent of that guy
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll ride with it.
sitting exactly working. His wife isn't working, is she? No. He's able to sit there, retire, ride into the sunset. Can you do that? Can you do what that guy did?
Okay, so by middle class, you were more or less saying somebody who can just comfortably retire at 55 and ride off into the sunset.
Yes. Comfortably
Okay, yeah,
work, raise a family. Wife is not working, one housing, and then retire right into the sunset. Right? It's not what you think it is anymore now, and a lot of the gap is being papered over with credit. Right? A lot of credit, a lot of debt, and so on and so forth. And then here comes this thing, the gig economy, which is just, again, another index of economic insecurity. So given the fact that men need to be more entrepreneurial, right, in order to provide for themselves and possibly raise a family, which is what all of that we've been talking around so far, the gig economy is some kind of pseudo-entrepreneurial deal, right? Like, oh, you got to take things into your hand. Maybe you go to Postmates, you do this, you drive some Uber, you do this, you do that. That's really what it's saying right now, which is this is not a choice that you have anymore, gentlemen. I just juxtaposed something. I said the middle class is $500,000 a year. And if you think you're in the middle class, in other words, that whole chunk there that is making in between above the poverty line and between that and $500,000, you're not in the middle class. You're in some place called disaster zone. Like you're in the danger zone. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, that's always the tricky part when we talk about middle class, because depending on what stats you look at, sometimes they put the middle class so low to where everybody can be in the club, but some people really are not in the club. They're technically, if they put middle class at $40,000 a year, and then everybody and they cut off. They say upper class is once you get past what is it? Somewhere in like 200,000 range or something like that.
200 and 250, depending on which state you're in, obviously.
Right. So everybody from 40, or somebody doing really well at what I could definitely consider really well. You may think that's pocket change, but somebody doing really well at 175,000 a year. That person can say, "Oh, I'm just middle class," but also the person, making 40,000 can say, "Oh yeah, I'm middle class. I'm doing okay." It's like everybody, you could argue everybody into the middle, but it's really it's levels to it, as they say. It's levels to it.
It's definitely levels to it, and also as men, we know this is not about semantics here, which is that the reason why I said what was considered the middle class when people started saying it, and it is an economic football too. So political football. So politicians want to say all kinds of things and fool you.
Yeah,
you're
going to raise taxes on the middle class, and then I'm going to lower taxes
on the middle, and they're all those kinds of things. We need to bring more people into the middle class. It's that whole American dream, which is a marketing ploy by the banks to get you to get loans to buy houses. That whole kind of thing.
Hold your thought really quick, because I do got 2 super chats on the board. Shy Guy, Fly Guy. I actually like that name. Shy Guy, Fly Guy. Shout out to you. The super chat, and thank you. Got Snuggles in the building. Snuggles 668 in the building says, "I like what Ike just said about credit. Bernard, I want you to look up a young man called Savings Minus Debt." I think I know about that. I hope people understand what Ike said. Thank you for the super chat, Snuggles.
Hi, I'm Snuggles. Snuggly softness. That's really less expensive.
All right. Thank you, Snuggles. Appreciate it.
Cuddly soft and less expensive, gentlemen.
That's funny. I normally cut it off early and don't play it all the way through to the cuddly soft and really less expensive. But every time I do, it get funnier. Because the bear start climbing over the thing. All right.
So, and it's also funny how she likes to call everyone young man. But yeah, savings minus debt is in the building, right there. So, point is, okay, let's not sound like BANs, right? There is a reality as to what it takes to live that life that factory worker in the 1950s lived, right? Which is kind of what we would like. Economic security, ability to kind of control a household there, by providing for that household, being able to retire, okay? And if you take it into the dollars you need to make today, okay, to live that life that guy lived with his house and everything, and then retirement at 55, so on and so forth, you just do the numbers, okay? Now, you can shift it from state to state. I'm saying definitely over here where I'm at in the Bay Area, it's at least 500K, right? So what does that mean?
You live on a different planet, as far as I'm concerned, with that LA, California, San Francisco. I don't understand that. I live in a small town in the Midwest. I live in Michigan, in a small town where you could pay rent for a 3-bedroom house $700 a month. Like, it's a whole different world out here, but jobs don't pay nothing. Yeah, so that's the downside. That's the downside. Shout out to Savings Minus Debt, by the way. I just went and subscribed to your channel, and so I will be checking. I've seen you around. I probably watched some of your content in passing, just ducked in a little bit, but I just recently subscribed. You're
a slave, Bernard. I'm just kidding.
What'd you say?
You may know. You're a slave, Bernard. I don't know. You haven't watched his channel. Okay,
yeah,
good.
I haven't watched it that much. I don't know his catchphrases, but I'm familiar with it. Right when she said savings minus debt, I'm like, yeah, that rings a bell. But yeah, I just subscribed to you, so I'm on board. I'm on board. I'll be checking you out. But all right,
so there's the market. Yeah, no problem. There's a marketing versus reality thing going on here. The marketing of the American dream, okay, which somehow everybody dreamt of a house somehow, right? That's the thing. A house is a product, okay? And the thing that typically people are driving you to use to take the house is a product, which is a loan from a bank. And the thing that you get tax credit for, it's not the house, it's the loan from the bank. So all that kind of stuff. And we know how banks tend to control a big chunk of the global. Bank is not even about America anymore. This is a global thing. But anyways, the point that we've been emphasizing here is this. The gig economy is an indicator of economic insecurity. You need more than you think you need in order to live that simple, basic life of a simple, basic skilled worker back in the 1950s. We all know this and feel this, right? It's not like we can hide from it, okay? So being men, we're going to be upfront about it. So no talk about, because they're arguing semantics about who's the middle class or who's not. It's like, no. Like, stop. You know it's hard out there. You know it's rough out there. You need more than you actually think you need. And also, given the fact that there's economic insecurity, no one's going to hand it to you. There is no company or government agency and so on and so forth. Pension funds of the public employee pensions are going bust, right? They can't fund it, blah, 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 all those kinds of things. So what is the point here? Men need to become more entrepreneurial, right? And that's the whole kind of what the gig economy indicates, even though it's a certain kind of entrepreneurism, more like a 1099 employee of Uber while you also work as an accountant or something like that. That's kind of what they're saying you should do.
Oh, that made my head hurt. An accountant, you think making good money. You think of an Uber driver, you think of somebody who's basically making enough money to put gas in his car to drive Uber. Like, he's basically like, that's what I think when I think of an Uber driver. Like my stepson from back many moons ago in my simping days when I married a baby mama back when I was 19. My stepson from that marriage, this was back in 2002 when I did that. So needless to say, he's an adult now. It's 2021. He's an adult. He was doing DoorDash and stuff like that, at 18, 19 years old. So when I think of people in their 30s doing that, I'm like, dude, you're doing what my stepson is doing. And
You've taken Uber before, right? And you've seen the kinds of people who do Uber, right? It runs the gamut, right?
Yeah. So when I think of an accountant, I'm thinking of a successful person who, like, wouldn't the little bit of money he's adding on DoorDashing and Ubering just be kind of minuscule to the, that never made sense to me when I see that. So when I hear people say that people with real jobs, with 401ks or making, I assume an accountant can make 70,000. Is that about right? Give or take?
Oh, yeah, something like that. Yeah, depending on where you are. Like, it could be even as low
Okay,
as
so
50
this
sometimes.
person that's making $70,000 is just Ubering around to put gas in his car. It's like, so make that make sense. And before you do that, shout out to Goshen came through. First start seeing Goshen in Ramil's chat. Definitely a huge supporter of this space. Always drops 100 on it. You're one of the people that's in the runnings for a special greeting, because you always come through hard and heavy-handed. We do appreciate the people who keep this space going, who keep us motivated to keep producing content. And so I do appreciate you coming on through here. And as usual, when somebody drop $100 super chat, we got to get Smokey to count it out for us.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140.
That's $100.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So to what I just said about the accountant who's doing Uber, who's moonlighting as an Uber driver, how does that make sense? I don't get it.
Well, this is the economic reality. First of all, they are out there doing that, right? Accountants and other kinds of people in that ilk. Goshen, by the way, is probably definitely in the middle class or even higher. But so we know how that $70,000. We know how inflation has been in the market. And inflation in terms of, let's say, things such as education for the kids, inflation in things such as housing, but there has not been a commensurate increase in the wages, as we just described with the 1950s guy, right? So that $70,000 gets chipped away. Maybe he's trying to save some money for his retirement as well. So now, just to do certain other basic things like not eat crappy cereal, right? Maybe at least be able to, no, for real.
No, I love when people break it down like that. Me doing this little extra thing. This is how I pay my bills, but this is how I make sure that I eat Captain Crunch instead of instead of Captain Crunch berries. I don't have to eat the berry crunches. I forgot what the fake Captain Crunch is called.
Whatever grocery store brand you're eating out. Alternative.
We know.
And it's how you make sure that in the summertime when it gets hot, that your light bills don't run away from you. Or you're able to keep you're not watching the air conditioner. Those kinds of things, right? And we know how important those things are, right? So it's like if he can bring in, I don't know how much Uber brings in, that kind of eases things off a little bit for him.
Well,
he has a mortgage and so on and so forth.
I'm Googling it right now. They say the average Uber driver, they said gross $15 an hour, net 11.93, or so it's 15.73 gross hourly pay, 11.93 and for net. And out here in, like I said, cost of living real low in my city, minimum wage, because my son, my first biological son, who's a senior, he's in the process of getting I forgot where, at some restaurant, in the process of getting a job at a restaurant. He's a senior in high school. I think the minimum wage is, I forgot what he's probably gonna be making. I don't know if it was $9.25 or $9.75 or something like that. So I mean, they're scraping minimum wage, just a side note, even though we do got a super chat on the board right now that says you can do Lyft and make an extra $1,200 a month. But how many hours? That's my $1 million question. How many hours are you putting in for that extra $1,200 a month? But thank you.
And I would like to see more stats on that, because averages, we know how averages are, and we know how when it comes to anything that involves human effort, you're gonna have people who are, maybe that average is being pulled down by all the typical lazy people out there,
Exactly.
inefficient people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think it may be a happy medium sweet spot where if somebody does it and does it well, you can make decent extra money, but you got to be on it, you got to be quick, you got to be punctual, you got to run it like a business. Maybe there's a sweet spot, but when the numbers are being brought down, that's probably the lazy people to just do it when they wait until they wait until they get to the point where they got no cash on them at all, and like, oh, let me do a couple Ubers or a couple of this, couple of that, make a few tips so I can get a pizza tonight. Maybe those are the people that are bringing it down.
So, and if you look like that accountant type, he probably has a nicer car, right? Or he can get a nicer car, and that means that you're now moving into the Uber Black or Uber SUV, which costs more for, the people actually pay more. They get paid more, and all those other kinds of things, right? So if you're a professional, you're probably also doing your Uber in a professional, efficient way as well, right? But I hope, I've kind of answered your question as to why it makes sense. Yes, he's getting this big chunk, a decent chunk of money, which really isn't much from his job, $70,000, but he's got a mortgage and this, that, and the other. But in order not to worry literally about, being able to get berries and this and that, and, maybe eat lamb every once in a while, he needs that Uber cash, right? Because maybe he wants to be responsible and save for his retirement, don't want to spend everything. So that's the idea here. The whole point, though, of talking about this gig economy is that it is an indication of economic insecurity. It is an indication that we're way, 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 way long from that was 70 years ago, the 1950s, I believe. So, yeah. And as such, we need to do something about it. You can't just sleep about it. You can't just put your head under the pillow and complain about women about it. No, you are responsible. You have one life to live. If you don't start looking at the reality of the world in the way men should, then you only have yourself to blame, right? Now, we can talk again, as I said, as the series goes on, we could talk about some of the reasons why these things are the case due to all kinds of mismanagement and lies that we've been told for a while. But men need to be more entrepreneurial, right? That is the main thing that we're saying here. And if you recall, in the beginning, I said there are things about skills that are going to be more favorable in the future, and other skills that are getting phased out. And that hinges upon technological changes, socioeconomic changes, and so on and so forth, demographic changes. But I also mentioned that there's going to be habits and mindsets that need to change in order to be successful. So I think that it makes sense to start from the habit and mindset end of things, right? So we're trying to pump ourselves into the situation where we're like, hey, remove that rose-colored glass that the politicians put in front of your eyes, and that society's put in front of your eyes, that social media is put in front of your eyes. Like, everyone out there is broke. Everyone out there is heavily in debt. Everyone out there is not secure financially. Everyone out there doesn't know how to retire. This is the reality. You can blind yourself about it, or you can face it. I don't need to pull out some crazy statistics for us to know that this is the case. Hence, we need to be entrepreneurial. We have this thing called the gig economy, which is an indication of, hey, be entrepreneurial in this way. But obviously, there are better and better ways of doing these kinds of things, right? So the mindset, I was thinking that, we can use the mindset that is required for starting and growing things, right? Is that whole entrepreneurial mindset that needs to be kind of cultivated. And I wanted to ask you about, just to use your YouTube channel, and you could throw questions back at me about my YouTube channel, as a way of looking at how does one start things, get into things, grow things, move around in this space, network, learn about different skills. Now, it is not about YouTube, but if somebody wants to go start a YouTube channel, that's all fine. But YouTube is not necessarily like, oh, yeah, this is a career path. It's more of an add-on, an extra. It's another gig economy, if you will. However, if you look at that, because entrepreneurship is a creative endeavor, okay? The people who start companies are creative types, okay? They're the artist types. And then the people who run the companies are a different crew. You have the creator, and then you have a CEO type, right? So, and then you could have a weirdo like Mark Zuckerberg who plays both roles, sometimes you have those kinds of people. Yeah. However, when you talk about starting and improving, there are many things that one can start to spit out in terms of, oh, let me give you the hints. But let me just ask you now, well, how did you make the decision to start YouTube? Now, with that, let's go with the decision. Was it a snap decision, I'm going to start YouTube today, and then you just started YouTube? Was it something was brewing in the back of your mind? What was the first video you made? How did you decide to begin?
Okay, I don't want to go back too far in the future because I did have an NBA basketball YouTube channel long before I ever started doing any content related to the Black Manosphere. So a part of me always wanted to do something in the realm of podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even before YouTube took off the way that it did, and I start seeing that, oh, people are essentially podcasting on YouTube, because it used to be just, you know, short videos of, you know, either how-to videos or a clip from some show, or something funny happened and somebody posted it like that. But when people started, you know, actually doing what amounted to a podcast on YouTube, that sort of did make me say, maybe I, you know, start stroking the beard thinking maybe you can do that on YouTube. So going back there, then yeah, that was an initial thought. I started playing around. I still suck at editing videos, but I've gotten better at it. But I started just doing basic editing and like making you know, the little NBA videos. But that was something that I did. It was fun. But the thought process, you know, going forward, how I got into what I'm doing right now. Shout out to the lead attorney down there. The thought process, how I got into doing what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to just really think back. Where was my mind at? It was something that I always wanted to do. It was almost like a part-time passion that I was de facto doing for free anyway. And it just and by that I mean I would find myself spending a lot of time in comment sections just debating with people.
I see.
And just somewhere along the way I was like, you know what? I should just start doing videos and just getting my thoughts out there, because I'm sitting there typing this 10-page essay debating with somebody in the comment sections. Okay, maybe, you know, 100, 200, 300 people may see that. Well, what if I made a video? 100, 200, 300 people may see it. So it'll be the same thing. Just it's my name on it and my thoughts, views, and ideas are out there. So it was really just that simple of a transition of mindset that, if I, instead of, you know, passionately arguing on somebody else's comment section, you know, this was back before live streaming was a thing. You got to keep that in mind too. This was back before it was a such thing as dropping a link in the chat and then just anybody can come up and have their say. Right now, that makes it easy to where somebody who wants to get their thoughts, ideas, views, and perspectives out there, but just really don't got time, or really just don't got the motivation, ambition, or desire to start a channel, but they still could duck in once or twice a week and just say what they got to say, punch and get out. That sort of helps that person. But somebody who, but back then, if you wanted to get your thoughts, ideas, views, and perspectives out there, you had to start a channel back then. And so when you talk about that very first video, it was oddly enough, I'm semi-embarrassed to even say this, it was really Derek Jackson. That's where me that's where me and Obsidian kind of, you know, got a lot in
You've
common.
been obsessed for a long time.
Yeah, no, I don't know if obsessed. It was before I found the red pill space. There was nowhere where men were having conversations about the social dynamics between men and women in a realistic way. Keep in mind, I had just went through my divorce, so nothing will red pill you faster than a divorce. So I went through my divorce, and then after I went through my divorce and I got out here and I started, you know, dating and interacting with women, and I started to just see that, wow, everything that's put out there doesn't really reflect reality. So I was just in my mind just thinking, there's a problem, there's a need there's a need that something needs to be filled, and there's an opening that needs to be filled, so to speak. I was thinking like that. Keep in mind, I didn't know the Black manosphere existed. I just knew that when it came to talking about the varying social dynamics between men and women, nobody was getting it right. And I was being bombarded with Derek Jackson videos on my Facebook timeline that I could have ignored, but it's like the guilty pleasure, the train wreck that you just can't turn away from. So, and that was where I ended up in the comment section, all debating with people. And I was picking apart a lot of the stuff that he was saying. And actually, my lady friend, to use Obsidian's term, I don't even know. I mean, this was back. I don't even know if she was officially my lady friend, my woman at the time. But we were, in the early stages, and we would have some of those conversations, and she would just see how my mind works. And she was like, she even recommended it. I was already thinking it, but she recommended. She was like, you should make a video just responding to the stuff that Derek Jackson says. And I was like, what? I've been pondering that one for a while. And my very first video that I made, actually the first one I made was kind of crappy just to get it out there. I took it down. But the first one that I made, I really put some time into, was a response video to a Derek Jackson video. And it got like 18,000 views. It was gradually over time, because, as my channel grew, a lot of people went back and watched my first video. So it just gradually over time got it. And then shout out to Mel Enlightenment TV, Crypto Game Podcast. When his channel only had 1,000 subs, he gave me a really good shout out and shared my video and posted a link in his chat, because he made a video responding to Derek Jackson that had like 8,000 views, 10,000 views. So whenever he got a view, I got a view. So that gave me my first little initial bump. But sometime later I started going live, and then it started growing and turning into what you see now. But that was what motivated me to just jump out there and make my very first video that I did. I'm embarrassed to say that, yes, it was Derek Jackson who kind of drew me into this. And then from doing that was how I ultimately stumbled into the manosphere. When I was on YouTube looking at Derek Jackson videos, I stumbled into an Obsidian video, and then I like took a breath, like, okay, there's already a team of men who are on the job of talking about these male female social dynamics in the right way. There's already a team of men who are already doing it. I thought I was just some lone candle in the dark, but I found out that there were other men who were, in my perspective, thinking clearly on this. But that was the genesis of how I started my first video. But there's a cutoff point between, and I think this is what you're more so getting at, the person who jump started me to want to start making videos on YouTube versus when did I start really taking it serious as a business. Those are two different things. Those are two different things. I think that's what you're getting at here, because you're talking about
because it's a gradual process. I was just like, well, it's a whole process, right? And then there's a decision point to just really just start, put it out there. And you said that you were thinking about it. You saw a problem that you felt like you had some facility to help solve. Like, I can talk about this. There's no one else doing this. I'm already doing this anyway, as you said. Like, I'm already typing all this stuff. I'm already doing this stuff. So I want to go in there and do. Well, let me let you shout out your super chat, and then we can.
JB, was that Megan Montana? I hope I got that right. Says, this is a good show. Peace, Ike. Definitely. And shout out to you. I don't got a special greeting for $3. I got to find one, but should have gave you the $1 and the $2 greeting. Actually, that would have been better. But shout out to you. Appreciate the super chat. But I think what you're getting at with the question is, in respect to the gig economy, when and why did I start looking at this as I'm going to make it into a viable business, to where it goes from a possible extra income to possibly a full-time income? How did I go from wanting to basically just use it as a tool, a vehicle to progress me in this this treacherous economy that you talked about earlier. And so and
you may be going too fast for some people, because there are people right now who are like, what I mean is, they haven't started that thing. They need to start it before they get to the point.
Oh, okay, all right. So right now,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right now
it's like,
how do you go from starting it? It is you're not even talking about making money and monetizing it, and you're just talking about going from let me see, somebody who I'm trying to think of somebody who has like how I had a passion for having these type of conversations and talking about the varying social dynamics between men and women. How I had a personal passion for that, and I just went from having a passion for talking about that to just starting a YouTube channel. You're trying to talk about how to just get that off the ground. That part right there, I think it would come down to, what are you already doing? What are you already passionate about? It was a guy that I was that I worked with. His wife had some dog grooming business, and she just, I guess she used to, they had like 3 dogs that she used to wash and clean and cut their hair and do them up real cute and put little bows on their head and make it look cute. And she just personally liked doing that. And some of her friends would just be like, hey, that's cute. Could you do that for my little Scruffy, whatever the dog name is? And then she would, she started doing that there. And then, so it started out something that she just naturally enjoyed doing. She naturally wanted to do. And it just grew into a business. Like she ended up having like 8 regular customers before she ever even truly tried to advertise,
So here's the thing, and I always say this. I always say that the most important thing is to have a customer, not to go and sit and brood and try to come up with a perfect business plan or a perfect product. That is MBA, people who get the MBAs, that's MBA fantasy land type thinking. The way things actually get done in the real world is you need to do something for someone. In other words, it may be your cousin that you fixed his computer. It may be, in the case that you just gave, a couple of friends that you groomed their dog, right? And why do you need a customer? Because the whole business thing is about product market fit, right? And you cannot separate your product from the market. So your friend is the market. You go and you fix your friend's computer, you groom your friend's dog. They tell you whether it's good or not. They be like, wow, you're better than PetSmart, that blah, 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 blah. You could be really good at this. You may just think, oh, it's a hobby for now, until a month later they call you. Are you still grooming dogs? Because I met this lady the other day at the line at the grocery store, and we were talking. She said, complimented my dog. And I said, hey, I have this person that I do it for. You know how it tends to go. So the idea here is make a decision to start something. And let me ask you, Bernard, were you ready to start YouTube when you started YouTube? Were you were you as good in terms of camera, editing, understanding the algorithm as you are now? Or did you just start it?
Just start it.
Exactly. So just start it. And the thing about something like YouTube, you already have there's a customer base there waiting for you. Like, okay, I'm going to put it out there into the market. You didn't go sit in your house making videos that you didn't put out, right? Like, I'm going to make sure these videos are perfect. I'm going to go take classes on editing. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. So whatever it may be, okay, gentlemen, whatever skill it is that you have, because remember, okay, there is economic insecurity out there, high levels of debt, middle class that you think exists doesn't exist. You need a whole lot more money than you think you need, okay? There's this thing called the gig economy, which is just an indication of insecurity and so on and so forth. So hence, start things. And on this point, I'm going to harp on this point of starting, but let me let you read Snuggles out here, the $5 super chat champion of the world, and we'll go on about this, just starting things.
Snuggles 668 in the building says, has anyone noticed that suit Ike is wearing? Are you trying to give Mr. Samuels a run for his money? God damn, he did a spin around. Oh man, that was funny. Shout out to Snuggles.
Hi, I'm Snuggles. Snuggly softness. That's really less expensive.
All right. You don't have to formally answer that question. Are you trying to give Kevin Samuels a run for his money? You don't have to formally answer that one, but that's funny. All right, Ron Juan Franco. You
It's a
look
nice name.
Yeah, he's definitely smuggling money underground from Mexico to the U.S. He got a Los Polos. What's that in Breaking Bad? That's Gustavo Frank. I forgot his name. Yeah. Anyway, he got one of those type of names. Like he like the. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah, a few, you know.
Okay, well, yeah, you won't get the reference. There's a guy who had a chain of chicken businesses, and he used to have big semi trucks packed full of the chicken, so to speak, that he transferred from one place to another. But embedded in there was like tons of meth that he was taking from all across the country. So he was the chicken business was his cover up, but the chicken business, it was in the universe of the show, it was every bit as big as Chick-fil-A. Like, it was a big deal, but it was really just a cover up for selling a bunch of crystal meth. But anyway, shout out to Ron Juan Franco. Be safe out there, selling those drugs. Shout out to Before the Billions. Says, I love discussions like this. Thank you, Bernard and Ike. Absolutely appreciate you coming on through. All right. Where were we? Yeah, there we go. Hold on. Somebody, he got it. Los Polos Hermanos. That was a chicken business in Breaking Bad. That was one of my favorite shows. Real good.
Nice one.
That was one of my favorite shows. All right, so we was talking about just starting, and you were saying that
Let me school you on some Spanish. That's pollo, by the way. The double L is a wired. Los pollo. Pollo is chicken. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, thank you. Los pollos. I think I said it right. But you're talking about just starting. It's important to have a customer. In my experience, as somebody who's started a lot of little small businesses that have failed. When I was married, me and my ex-wife, we used to do it. She had the entrepreneurial spirit, but things used to go wrong in the planning process, or I think she didn't fully. Okay. What you're talking about? No, but seriously, what you're talking about, as far as having a customer and the importance of that, and that can't be underestimated. And for a lot of people, it's almost like you got to have customers almost before you even start. Because I started, a lot of people know that I pulled together, a bunch of money and bought a bunch of hair, a bunch of weave, and so I started with zero customers, absolute zero customers. First few months didn't make any money, even with advertising. Didn't make any money. Didn't make any money at all. It was so. That's why it's easier. It's easier sometimes. Like, put it like this: a lot of women get in that business and they go all out and they get an LLC and everything with it. They don't really got a business, but they do have a few customers in the sense that they wear the hair and they walking around with the hair, and then it's the whole, girl, where you get your hair from? And then he's like, and then say, oh, I got it. And then eventually they figure out a way to get their hands on the hair that they're buying for themselves. They be like, then it just turns real quick into I sell it. When the person asks, where did you get your hair from? They just say, I sell it. And then they start selling it to people who are asking them about it, or selling it to their friends. And that's a good start, because, well, they have customers, they have their friends, they got their cousins, they got people randomly asking, hey, where you get your hair from? So that's a good start. Now, as far as a lot of them having the business acumen to make it grow from there, that's a whole nother story. But they do start out with customers to where they can start out making a little bit of money, to where I started out at ground zero as a man, I know you don't like people say as a man, but as a man in that business, no customers, even though I could see it was a hellified market for it, I had no customers. So I had to 100% advertise just to get where they were at just early, just walking around, flipping hair around over their shoulder, So that is an important factor that, yes, having customers, that matters. That makes the difference in starting or not starting, because you will end up starting even when you're not ready to start, because the market ended up demanding that you do it. It's like so go ahead. I'll let you take that from there.
You're saying it all, right? I mentioned that, look, a business without a customer is like this organism without an ecosystem. Like this organism in just space. It's like the ecosystem is where you get the feedback, where you get are my adaptions, or am I being well adapted to the environment to survive? What is the feedback? Is the environment kicking my ass? Does the environment like what I'm bringing to the table? In other words, it is the beginning and the end of your business. Everything else is in between, okay? If you cannot find a customer, that is an indication that you may be doing something wrong, right? In other words, and this whole idea of a customer, this could be your mom, your aunt, your cousin, your neighbor. I don't care what it is that you think that you can do. Maybe you're good at graphical design. Maybe you're good at wiring surround sound systems. Go do it for somebody before you go, and because people have been spoiled, okay, by this idea of a business plan and spreadsheeting this and that. How am I going to attack the market? How am I going to do the Google advertising? Those are all ways of procrastination and jerking off, right? You're just like, I'm going to start the LLC and I'm going to have this and that and the other. It's like, no, those things come later. The first thing you want to do is take that particular skill, that graphic design, that surround sound wiring business, and go find a damn person to do it for. That is when now you're in the ecosystem. I don't know, what you want to say something about
No, I'm so glad you said that, because I took a small amount of heat when somebody asked me, did I have an LLC for the hair business? I said no. And it was like, what? No LLC? I'm like, can I prove a simple proof of concept first? Can I make a profit for a little bit before I start trying to LLC something? Like, but I'm glad you hearing you say that gives me okay, I did it the right way. I wasn't one of those people that spent a senseless amount of research and senseless amount of time researching and trying to make sure this I was dotted and this T was crossed, and let me do this, let me do that. Because like I said, the first 2 to 3 months could not get a customer. But I would have been walking around with some LLC for some business that possibly, I mean, it ended up working. It did end up working eventually, but I would have been walking around with some LLC for some business that potentially in 3 months, I could have very well just dropped it and not even went any further. So yes, that's people always, they mess that up. Black people, we bad at that. Yeah. Get a customer. Get a customer, then get customers. Find out that you can actually sell whatever product that you're selling. Find out that you can actually do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And you find that out by making a profit. Well, even if you're not making a profit, if you're able to buy some products from somewhere, any product, I don't care what the product is. If you could find somewhere in China to buy it wholesale, get it shipped to your house. You have these products at your house. Can you sell those products? Whether you're using Facebook Marketplace or your sister-in-law, auntie, baby cousin Tracy is interested in buying that. Can you sell? Can you move these products? Can you sell them?
I like that you mentioned Facebook, because Facebook is another example. I mean, most businesses are like this. Is that all that you may go and you read the book. In hindsight, it seems like the person planned and then executed. It's like, no, even Google was like this as well. In other words, Facebook had customers. Right? He created it for his Harvard University buddies, right? In there, they were the first customers. Things were tested. Things were reiterated. In other words, you got to get into an ecosystem, into an environment for you to evolve, because the environment will force you to evolve. The customers will tell you what they want. You may sit and think, I have the perfect food delivery business idea. I'm going to add my grandma's tiramisu. Oh my God, they're going to love it. You're going to find out real quick when you start delivering the food, they don't give a crap about the tiramisu. They just want the French fries. And you're not going to know that until you actually get, you may think I'm creating this app. It's got 72 features. Oh my God, they're going to love these features, number 50 through 7. It's like, no, they just care about the thing that makes it go, 2 features. And they like the fact that it's green. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you're not going to know what the environment is going to get what they want. You cannot do that. No one is smart enough. If you were smart enough, you would be a billionaire, right? And it's kind of silly to talk about it being a question of smart. It's not a question of smart. It's a question of the organism going into the ecosystem, seeing if the adaptations that it has actually works. And it's over time feedback and so on and so forth, that feedback loop that gives you the reality check. And also the customers pull you into doing things, into keeping your commitments. In other words, like your YouTube audience, even if you may not feel like doing something, right? Even if you may just feel like hiding for a week, your audience, because you have customers, you have to now deliver. Because you have customers, you have to create a better process. Because you have customers, you have to find a better way to serve them. So the idea that you're going to go sit in your basement somewhere and think about a business plan, that's not the issue. That's not the way. Go out there and just start doing things for people, see what works. And then there's going to be a slow evolution here. But I think we're starting to get our hands into the idea of the importance of starting when you are not ready to do, because of course you're not ready. You don't have any, you haven't done things for customers yet. The customers tell you whether you're ready or not you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of what we had said when you started talking about Facebook and knowing what works and what doesn't work, I had a website. I thought I went in thinking that a lot of the sales would be from the website. This whole time I probably made maybe 1 or 2 sales directly from the website, or from a customer that I didn't actually see in person. They just went to the website and bought. Maybe 1 or 2 sales. I thought that the Facebook page that I made and advertising on that was going to get most of the customers. That's where I put a lot of the money, advertising. That ended up not being the route. I tried the Instagram way. That ended up not being the route. Getting out there and actually doing it let me know that the thing that I thought where I would make the least amount of money is just going to Facebook Marketplace. That's like an online garage sale. I felt like that cheapens your business if you do it that way. If you go on Facebook Marketplace, I thought, because even though if you got a business and it looks good and you got a real cute website, and I had a lot of stuff going on to where I was like, man, I put a lot of work into making this look big and more important than what it is. But good old Facebook Marketplace, the online garage sale, is where I ended up making, I would say 95% of my sales of something where you don't even got to pay for advertising. That's the mind-blowing thing. So all my money that I was paying for advertising, yeah, okay, it probably created a buzz. Yeah, it probably just put me in the psyche of a lot of people, but most 95% of the sales, Facebook Marketplace. Something that's the particular product I was selling, I wouldn't know that until I did it. It's almost so there's that factor in the equation of you just got to do it. Just do it. But if you got customers going in early on, that is a great thing. And well, shout out to Before the Billions. He says, I agree. I started an LLC with no customers or plan and spent around $3,000 the first year. I just claimed it on my taxes as a loss. That is a good thing too, if you can claim it on your taxes. But yeah, them LLCs, people get into it. I say proof of concept first. And I actually have to step away for a split second, so you could do an epic monologue while I step away. Sorry about that, but go ahead. I got to step away for a second.
No problem. So the idea is, okay, be willing to start without being ready because you're never going to be ready anyways, right? If you're ready, it's already too late. Here's what people tend to think. Here's what people mean by being ready. You're sitting and you're waiting. You're waiting for a perfect arrangement of events. It's almost like you're waiting for this cloud to pass right over these particular set of stars and the sun to just shine in the right way and the right person to just walk by and see this thing and then boom, hey, that's not actually doing anything. And those particular set of circumstances are never going to happen, okay? So if you think, oh, I'm ready, then it's already too late. You're never ready. Bernard just told you that he started making these videos before he really even knew anything. I mean, obviously, you can see the growth in the channel. If you go back and watch his first video on Derek Jackson, you'll see the huge difference. So he did not wait till he had the studio set up. He knew about cameras. He knew about microphones. And he also had already connected with Obsidian and so on and so forth before he started. He just started. So it's about taking baby steps towards the decision. There is a saying, I believe it's by Marcus Aurelius, okay? It says this: a task begun is half done. You guys know, you guys get that? You know what that is, right? In the sense that starting is often the hardest thing, but once you start, the process takes a life of its own. It takes a momentum of its own. And starting, again, involves getting a customer because, to reiterate, the customer will teach you product market fit. You may think that they like the tiramisu. Nope, they just want the wedge, the fries. You may think that they like the 20 functions in your app that you're creating, but no, they just like function number 1. You may think you never quite know exactly what you're good at until you get feedback from the marketplace. And also, when you have customers, they force you to do things because now you're responsible to them. This is something that people don't seem to understand. You need to use whatever you can to pull you into the future. Does that make sense? Use whatever you can to pull you into the future, and the customers are a key aspect of that. Because once you have customers, it's like being responsible for a family now or something. Because now you have to deliver. Now you have to make an efficient process. Now you have to put in those 16-hour work days, which you should be putting in anyways. And this includes weekends, okay? And I'm talking to men here, so I don't want to hear any of your excuses about why you're not doing this anyways. It's like work. What else are you doing with your time? Nothing. What are you doing? What's so important, right? So taking these baby steps to making this decision has a particular tip that I can give here, which is this. There are principles in exposure therapy. Let's say you're afraid of something, okay? You're afraid of elevators, let's say. You're afraid of heights. You're afraid of spiders. You're afraid of starting a business. You're like, okay, I don't really know about this thing. I'm a little lazy. There's procrastination. This is fine. This is normal. This is human being. Don't beat yourself up for being lazy. Lazy is just being a human being, okay? But the point is, how can I use certain hacks to pull me out of that? So basically it's this. If you're afraid of elevators, exposure therapy, gradual exposure therapy says, go to a building with an elevator, right? First of all, just sit in the lobby, watch the elevator, and then watch the feeling in your body, right? Feelings are going to arise. You know, there's going to be a tightness in your chest. Heart rate is going to go up. Maybe you start sweating a little bit. Get used to that. Get used to that exposure, that level of exposure. When you've gotten used to that and it's calmed down a little bit, where you're like, no big deal for me to be at a lobby with an elevator. Next thing, go stand in front of the elevator and look at the elevator. Watch people come in and out. Woo! You're going to be like, oh my God, elevators. This is crazy. Heart rate is going to go up again. The back of your neck is going to get hot. You're going to have a sinking sensation in your stomach. Oh my God, I hate elevators, spiders, heights, whatever it may be. Get used to that because everything is going to manifest itself in terms of your body and then voices in your head. So get used to whatever your body is doing and the voices in your head are doing when it comes to anything that you're trying to get done but you're afraid of. Next, you go and you push the button on the elevator and watch it open. Just watch it open. And on and on and on and on and on. This is a great example that Jordan Peterson likes to use. He uses this elevator thing, right? So next, you put your head in the elevator. Next, you just step in the elevator and then you come out. You get the idea. So the same thing goes with this. You have a certain kind of business that you're trying to, or certain kind of skill that you're trying to acquire. And you're like, I know that they have this particular course, maybe it may be online or so on and so forth, but I'm procrastinating. Don't worry. Break that thing down into the number of steps that similar to the steps that I just described for the elevator, where all you got to do the first time is just go to the website of the community college or the particular organization that has these courses. Maybe it's a YouTube course that you need to watch. Just go to the site of the person, browse it, and then watch the feeling in your body. Watch whatever kind of chaos comes up, the thing that tells you in your head, am I good enough to do this? Will I actually follow through? So on and so on and so on. That's the first step. Next, when you get used to that level, you're going to be like, okay, I'm cool with hanging around this website. I'm cool with hanging around this campus. I'm cool with, getting these particular tools. Next, you click on the video, right? And let me just look at the video. Is it going to kill me? This talking about a skill now that you have to acquire watching a particular set of lectures online, right? Or whatever it may be. Step-by-step gradual exposure therapy in order to overcome the resistance and the fear of the procrastination is the key thing. And understanding that once you have begun, you are using the hack of the fact that starting is the hardest part. And then once you start, things are going to push you forward with their own momentum. Okay. Me, for example, using the example of YouTube, and I asked Bernard about his YouTube channel. And by the way, Bernard was like, oh, you hung up the board. And I have some these sound absorbing things going on right now. And I have a stand-up desk finally set up. I have this microphone and so on and so forth. My first video was me in a hotel with my Android phone. And I just put it there and I said some stuff into it for like 8 minutes or something like that, right? Did I wait till I had editing software, a microphone, so on and so forth? No. That was my first video. And then Kevin Samuels left a comment in the video saying, get this microphone, the Rode wireless microphone. It'll really help your game, because he saw that I was just speaking into a phone, right? I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll do that. I got the Rode wireless microphone. I started using it riding my bicycle and had this wireless microphone plugged in. I made those bicycle videos. That helped. Okay. That helped. And that went a long way. And then to the point where I have this kind of microphone now. I have a Rode microphone as well. And also a Rode gear plus studio gear plus. And this is barely even, I haven't gotten my camera game up yet, but I'm already 112 videos in, right? I have not gotten my camera game up yet, but I'm already 212 videos in. I already have customers. Get a customer, start something, get it going, take the risk, okay? Because a task begun is half done. And the beginning of things is usually the hardest part. So don't encumber yourself by thinking, how am I going to go from step 1 to step 10? Step 5 is really hard. Trust me, the making of the decision and then taking that first move is the most important thing. Yeah. So I don't know if you were hearing me, Bernard, but
yeah. Yeah, I was able to listen.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You said a lot of good things. One thing that jumped out to me. Well, first off, Nick Penn in the building with the super chat. Shout out to Nick Penn. Don't know if I read this one by Before the Billions. Says, for the people who want an LLC, don't use LegalZoom. They charge almost $900. So that just makes me cringe to think somebody starting a business paying $900 for an LLC and have not made not one sale. Charge almost $900 for an LLC and a registered agent. It costs $110 with the Secretary of State. Thank you for the info Before the Billions. Appreciate it. Hold on. All right. Now you said that I remember you were talking about you made your first video. You were just talking into a cell phone at a hotel. Did you say Kevin Samuels responded to your first video? and
Yeah,
said,
he
"Go get a
did.
mic"? That's
Yeah.
interesting. How long ago was this?
I started in September. That was, I believe, like September 18th or something like that of last year. So I'm not even a year into this, right?
Okay, by September 18th of last year, Kevin Samuels was in full swing of his meteoric rise to
yeah.
So basically, it was almost like a de facto celebrity just jumped in the comment section of your first video, like, "Hey, dude, get a mic."
Yeah, because I'm Super Chat Jesus.
Oh yeah, okay, that's okay. That's right. Okay, I forgot about that. That's why he did it. Yeah. I was.
That's
thinking,
why he did it.
I was my math wasn't right.
Plus he's an actual decent person. That's one thing that I could say that, like, Kevin's a good guy, and so when O'Shea says it, maybe people don't like O'Shea because O'Shea's an asshole. They're like, but Kevin's actually a decent person. There was no reason for him to make that, to say, "Hey, give me this particular tip on this particular product, the microphone," which was actually quite helpful. He didn't have to do that, and he does many things like that behind the scenes for many people. I can vouch for him and say he's a decent person.
Yeah. The reason I was confused about him dropping in, I mean, it makes sense now because you was supporting his channel as it was growing and getting that big. But I didn't have the chronology right. I was thinking that he didn't know who you were. He just saw your video and then just dropped it. But okay. So it makes sense now. It makes sense now. I was going to say that was pretty peculiar for a while before I put all the chronology together. But but okay, you were saying some
yeah, I said a task begun is half done, right? The starting is the hardest part, and then I talked about the using the exposure therapy concepts to be able to start something. In other words, don't worry about it's similar to what I said in previous or one of our broadcasts about paying attention to something. In other words, just go look at the scale. Don't worry about how you're going to lose the weight. Just go look at the scale. And your routine now is to look at the scale every day, right? And then things start to happen. Same thing here. You simply just go and like, okay, well, I like to, I would like to do professionally this kind of wiring of surround sounds. People are at home more now. They're buying more and more of certain kind of equipment. And this is, I have a passion for this, right? You simply have to, first of all, what's the first step? Let me ask a buddy of mine, right? Or a friend, like if he knows anybody, like, if he got that surround sound and he needs help with, just pick up the phone and call that buddy. In other words, the most lowest threshold, lowest bottom of the rung thing you can do that, right? Just worry about that. And then it starts to build. Here's the thing that Google started in I think it's Stanford. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but I think it's one of the Bay Area universities here. But Google started in the dorm of Stanford. Facebook started in Harvard with people just wanting to do stuff because, Sergey and the other guy are like, I want to index all this information. I think it's going to be good for me. And would you use this? The other guy are like, yeah, I would use it. And then their roommate, and then this, and then that. I don't care how big you may think the company is, and there's nothing quite bigger than Google. We know about Apple too, starting a garage. All these garage stories are not. The real thing is, people think, they were thinking, I'm going to start this massive company, and I'm going into my garage one day, and I'm like, no. They were just doing things. You know what I mean? They were solving problems for themselves. They were starting things, and the key thing is that they had a customer. They had somebody they were doing it for. So call up somebody. So okay, let me ask you a question now. When did you learn, before you answer, you can address the super chats and whatnot, but when did you start to learn about camera, equipment, microphones, the set? When did you start to learn about more of the technical aspects and perhaps even editing? You said you knew about editing before, but when did you start to learn about some of these other things?
Once I was already in the swing of doing it, and by doing it, I mean, once I was to the point where, okay, I'm running a YouTube channel. I have, for for lack of a better way to describe, customers. By customers, I mean audience, so to speak. I have an audience, and so when it came to the point of, okay, I have an audience now, I want to make a better product. So I had to then start learning about, lighting and camera and all kinds of stuff. But I started out with a pretty cheap microphone. Like I upgraded to a Yeti, put it like that. The first mic that I used when I started, when I did the channel, when I was talking about NBA basketball, doing pre-recorded videos talking about NBA basketball, I forgot that mic is on the floor of my closet somewhere underneath something. I don't know. I don't know where that mic is, but it was a fairly cheap mic that I didn't even have hooked up right. I found out later I was actually speaking through computer speakers and didn't know. That's how bad the audio was for some of that stuff when I first started doing it. And but I did it, and it went well, and it went okay. And then when I started doing the channel that I'm doing right now, I just got a Yeti mic and plugged it into a laptop and sat at my dining room table and just started talking, and just went from there. It wasn't until doing it at the level that I was doing it at, just at the dining room table on a Yeti mic, once it got to the point to where, okay, I got an audience. Okay, I'm getting cash apps. Okay, now I'm monetized. Oh shit, I'm getting I didn't want to cuss on this one. Oh shoot, I'm getting super chats. Once it got to the point where, wow, okay, I'm getting super chats. And then it was the month of July where, well, actually, no, I think I got monetized April of last year. So the first month that I was monetized, it was, man, a little bit of money. Then that next month that I was monetized, I made some money that was like, this could turn into something. And then the next month after that, it was a amount of money. And then I think on July of last year, that was when my channel really started to take off, and it was going down. It was sort of like for example, you saw how as they said, the Avengers assembled on the male feminist guy. That was like that was when my channel sort of became like the spot where everybody met up and hashed it out, whatever the debate or point of contention was in the sphere. For whatever reason, my channel was this place where everybody came and locked horns, and it was good. It was good discussion. Sometimes, a little bit of beef would start off on my channel, even though I've never been in a beef, but a lot of beefs would happen on my channel. So I did try to weed that out to try to stop that, but it's no perfect science, because black folks, somebody gonna get a little too live. But that month I did so many marathons over here, and it was just an ongoing, just action-packed month, and it made a lot of money to the point to where that's when it got to the point where I was like, whoa, this could, well, wait, I'm talking about money. You didn't ask me originally about money. The question was about, what was the
camera, lighting,
yeah, okay,
editing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's the reason, though, it is important that I'm talking about the money, because I started making money, and keep in mind, sitting at my dining room table, don't even got a special chair for it. I'm in a very uncomfortable chair. I'm uncomfortable. I'm at a dining room table. I'm off camera, speaking into a Yeti mic, and I'm sitting here doing anywhere from 300 to 500 live viewers. 300 to 500 live viewers, and making solid money during the stream. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it the cheap, the cheap rinky-dink, just throw it together kind of way. I'm still doing it like that. So once I showed, that goes back to that word, proof of concept, that I got something here. I started out, cheap and low budget, but there's a product here that people like to consume, that people like to watch, that people like to look at. And then that's where I got to the point where probably after that month, I started thinking, started going, again, stroking my beard, going, I started making a plan that, I gotta make a plan to be on camera sooner or later. And for those that don't know, if anybody watched my videos back then, I was talking about being on camera. I said I was going to get a nice quality camera production, a nice little setup, a background or whatever, or a nice set. And I was going to try to do it professional and be in a suit. And that was before Kevin Samuels blew up. I was already planning on, dressing nice and having a nice professional look to the show before Kevin Samuels blew up. So I hate every time where somebody say, "Oh, Bernard wearing a suit because Kevin Samuels." I'm like,
leave it up to black people to make it seem like suits never existed before. Like, suit. Oh my God, it must be Kevin Samuels. Oh, candle. I never saw a candle in my life. It must be because of.
But people who was really listening back in June, July, all of that, they know that even before Kevin Samuels became a celebrity, I was already planning on doing it exactly the way that I'm doing it now. But what prompted that is the mere fact that I started out at the beginning of the year in it was January of last year, because it's 2021 now. So yeah, January of 2020 is when I started going live, and from there, like I said, Yeti mic, dining room table, just that simple. Yeti mic plugged into an old laptop, sitting at the dining room table. From there, when it started growing, and there's a lot of factors up to how and why it started growing. We can get into that. But from there, once it got to July, once I got monetized in April, and then by July, it started making some money that mattered. And by money that mattered, like money that could, money that could replace a blue collar job. Put it like that. It started making money that could replace a blue collar job. Once it got to that point, that's when I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it for real. And then that's when I started making the plans to learn about lighting, learn about camera. I ended up getting, well, you can't see it, but I got the old laptop died. I got an actual computer right here that I'm running it off of. I got a speaker right here that I don't use because I think it distorts my audio, but I want to figure out how to use that. I got a number of things that I use, but I started buying more equipment, started returning equipment, getting new equipment and everything. I got a monitor right there. I got a camera set up back there, and got all kinds of stuff. And I plan on doing even more. Getting it. So that's where it came from. The success of the show is what prompted me to change the look of the show and make it look like what we're looking like right now. And as you're writing down whatever you're writing, I do want to shout out Matthew J. I don't got your last name on there because I figured you don't want your full government name on there, but Matthew J down at the bottom is my most recent Patreon, became a $10 Patreon. So I definitely want to salute and shout out him. That list of people you see down there, those are my most recent Patreon. So shout out to everybody who recently, I guess that's like within the last month, the people that became a Patreon. So I do appreciate all of you down there. But long story short, yes, as the show gets successful, that's when I got more serious about the mics. I went and got upgraded to a $400 mic that's supposed to be every bit as good as the SM7V, but I don't think so. So I probably will still end up getting the same. I think, hold on, let me make sure I'm seeing your mic correctly.
It is SM7V.
Yeah. I may end up getting exactly what you got and what Kevin Samuels uses right there. I may do that. I'm probably going to upgrade to a Sony camera, and so get to make the camera work, look even better. Because I did some research on the camera, or I might just get a bigger lens. But it's going to be upgrades. It's going to look better. I don't know if you're familiar or how familiar you are with the Fresh and Fit podcast. Yeah. They when there's a blow up on the show and they have to put one of the girls out because she was acting stupid. You can see. Really? Oh, it happens from time to time. It don't happen every show, but every now and then one of the bimbos will, And then they're like, all right, get out, go. They had to put a chick out here and there. And then when they show her leaving, you can see like their behind the scenes setup, how they got a whole crew of people. It's like I can't even explain what all that stuff does that they got back there. So I'm like, it's like technology on top of technology back there. So someday, I want to have everything that they got going on and got it set up to where people can be in studio where you're not just looking at one camera angle of me, but no, there's multiple cameras. There's a camera over there, and a camera in front of me, and the camera view changes during the show. Or when this person right here at this end of the table is talking, that camera zooms in on him because somebody is behind the scenes, putting the camera on him and doing that. And then that way it really can look and feel like Real Time with Bill Maher. If you watch that show, how there's a panel of people there and they're discussing, they're having a conversation. So yeah, I got a vision of doing it that way, having regular in studio people or reoccurring in studio guests, or just not just an in studio crew. I don't got it all worked out, but it's gradually. I got ideas. So, but the moral of the story is, once you start off small, the market will dictate that it's time to grow, because you got the potential chance of staying completely stagnant if you say, hey, I'm doing good and I'm making numbers at my dining room table on a little Yeti mic off camera. If you just say that and then just keep it there and just stay there forever, okay, well, you might be in that same little spot forever and you'll never grow from there.
This is how everything happens, and this is the thing that I think it cannot be overemphasized. We cannot reiterate it in enough examples. Because guess what? If somebody were to write the story about the Bernard Riley channel, they would say things like, Bernard Riley filled in the niche where the people in the manosphere came together and blah, blah, blah. It will seem like you sat there and planned to have the channel where people will come and gather around. You use the model of more live interaction, but Bernard Riley didn't have as many subscribers, but would have more people show up than that kind of a thing. Like, you planned it. Right? That's not how anything works. Like, you didn't know these people, how it was going to work out. You just do stuff, and you didn't have the camera game down or any of these things. I like how you're putting it, because it doesn't matter what kind of business it is. People think that it's all about, I'm going to have all these cameras. I'm going to have the plan for the niche that it's going to be this kind of show. And this and this and this is going to happen. It's like, no, even the Fresh and Fit podcast that you're talking about, okay? That was a gradual evolution on the side of, the Fresh Prince, Fresh Prince CEO guy and the other guy doing different things. And then it all kind of comes together. We see Kevin Samuels' growth as well. You see, everything. There is no, I'm going to have a perfect plan. I'm going to have a perfect spreadsheet. I'm going to have a business plan. I'm going to write it down. Here's the market I'm going after. Here's how I'm going to get funding. Here's my 5-month plan. Here's the revenue. It's like, that's hindsight BS. That's written in books. That's for case studies and MBA courses. That's not how anything ever happens in real life. That's how managers talk. Managers are not people who start stuff. As we kind of, I think, mentioned before, people who start stuff are more on the creative end, entrepreneurs, which we all now need to be in this gig economy land. But managers tend to look at that whole thing of like, it was this particular niche that he fit in. And speaking of niche, I said that, look, you need to be an organism that goes into the ecosystem. If you're without a business and you're just out there, you're like this organism that is kind of in space. And I think there was a super chat that you didn't read about the growth mindset. I think you had it up, but you didn't read it. You didn't read this, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he says, great show, fellas. Ike has a growth mindset that we all can mimic. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you, Tony Legion. Thank you. Appreciate you. Go ahead, Ike. You can say whatever you was going to say about that.
Yeah.
One.
So here's the thing about the growth mindset. Okay, it's one of those cliches, bromides. There's this other word that I'm looking like. People just kind of say these things to make themselves feel good. It's like pamphleteer level language, magazine article level language. In other words, it's not really deep, but really there's depth to the concept that it represents, such as like the gig economy. The gig economy is just another way of saying everyone's broke, right? But the growth mindset really is about looking at the world as a place where you can take action, right? That problem, like, in other words, rather than looking at a world as a place where fate controls, it's just a story. Like, it doesn't matter. Things are just going to play themselves out. So you look at the world, you look at obstacles that, okay, can I push this obstacle? Can I lever it away? Can I swim under it? Can I jump over it? Can I sidestep it? You look at the world as a video game, as chess pieces. Maybe there are rules to the game, but I can make a move, right? That's what the growth mindset is all about. It's not really some kind of metaphysical crazy or whatever, or kind of like an energy. It's like just you just open your eyes and you look at the world. You look at other people. You look at economic systems. You look at yourself. You look at your growth, your skills, whatever it may be. And you say, how do I look at this? Do I look at this as a Mario Brothers video game where I actually have a say? I can push A and jump over. I can get the star and do these kinds of things.
I did that on purpose to see if you were going to pivot right on cue when I pushed the button and made it.
I think it worked. It worked.
Okay. Sorry. I was messing with you right there, but go ahead.
But the Mario Brothers thing, the chess pieces, or even checkers, whatever it may be, right? Can I make a move versus, oh, it's all been written and the white man held me back and it's this system that blah, 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 and everything's already been predestined and all that kind of stuff. In other words, looking at the world as a bunch of stories that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you're just in here playing your role, and that's your primary view, right? Because these two things are true. Yes, the world is a story too, but also it is a forum for action. It is a place where you actually have a say. Okay, Mario cannot do a number of things, but hey, he's got A and he can run. You can jump and you can run. You can dodge and you can you get what I mean? It's like, obviously there are constraints even to a game such as chess, but you have a say. You can make a move. That's what the growth mindset is all about, as opposed to that fixed mindset, which is everything is just going to happen the way it is. So break yourself out of that pattern of being in the fixed mindset. How do you break yourself out? You got to understand that starting things is the main thing. Starting things with a customer. And I gave tips on how to do that in terms of using the principles of exposure therapy, right? So it's not something that you're doomed and, it's like, oh my God, how can I be like that person? They're leaping over mountains. It's like, but I'm just here a little ant. I'm crawling. I can't even get over this toothpick. Whether it's a toothpick or a mountain is the same effort. What I mean is, when you're an ant, your world is filled with toothpicks as the obstacles, and it's hard to get over toothpicks. When you grow into a bigger size, now you're hopping over chairs. Bigger size, now you're hopping over fences. A bigger size, you're leaping buildings. When you get to be a massive, big-time player in the building, now you're hopping over mountains. But it's the same effort. And it brings me to another point that I wanted to make here, which is that you need to be always uncomfortable. Let me put it this way. So you're like, take for example, I believe I mentioned a while ago that I have some international employees now, which is something that we'll touch on perhaps in a further stream down the line about outsourcing things, using the international marketplace, because, hey, Walmart and all these other companies have been doing it forever, right? Now that we have technology that enables us to be able to take advantage of this international marketplace, why shouldn't we? You think these people out there, you think these corporations are doing it just because it's not beneficial? It's like, come on, right? We need to take advantage of things. You need to become more entrepreneurial. Everyone is broke. We already said that. That's the basis, okay? Remember, we're in a reality where we cannot close our eyes to the fact that you're broke, and you're broker than you think, and you need more money than you think. Okay, so I, for example, I'm struggling with having to manage. When I say struggle, I mean it's a stressful thing. It's a learning thing. It's like, okay, managing employees in England and Ethiopia and so on and so forth, right?
How many employees do you have? Go ahead and floss on them. Go ahead and stun on us real hard.
No, an engineering company doesn't really need that much. Okay, I have 4 employees. I guess you could say 3 employees and one kind of one is more like a contractor, if you will.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And then there's some other people that I kind of use, but those are more loose contractors. But But
okay, so you
for
need
employees.
contractors more than just steady employees that more or less punch the clock every day. You just need you basically hire people for a job, to so to speak. Okay.
Yeah. But as far as the employees, 4 of them, right? So now having these employers, okay, England, time, they're generally all in the GMT kind of area in terms of Ethiopia or whatever. There's 3-hour difference, but anyways. So managing people remotely, being able to, rather than just take a task and do it, rather, be able to train them, be able to do these things that involve management is stressful. Being able to front the money to pay people before your clients pay you, because it's like a 90-day turnaround in terms of you send an invoice, and then these companies that I work for, my clients, if you will, these big companies don't pay their bills on time, right? So it takes like 3 months for them to come through with the money. But my employees need to get paid, right? They need to get paid. So this is now, I'm here struggling through this, okay? Prior to that, I was struggling through maybe, let me incorporate my company, right? Prior to that, I was struggling through, let me just start a company. Prior to that, I probably was struggling through, let me get my let me get my professional engineering licenses. In other words, it's always a struggle. So somebody who's, if you're in a situation right now where you're thinking, I'm struggling through, I don't even have one particular skill yet. You got to understand that that's fine. Stay struggling. Stay at that edge where you're constant, because that's where the growth is, right? I think we all kind of understand what I'm getting at here. In other words, it's that whole thing that I always say. Life is a use it or lose it proposition. You have to be stressing your bones or they'll die. You have to be stressing your muscles or they'll die. You have to be stressing your immune system or they'll die. You have to be stressing your skills and your brain cells and your relationships, your networks, everything. Get into that ecosystem again and meet reality and get stressed. That's how you grow. If you actually leave the stress, you'll die. It's not like you can chill. You can't chill. There is no zero. There is no staying put. You actually go backwards. Entropy, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story. It kills you. So the point is, you want to look back to compare against where you were before. I'm like, to have employee problems is a good problem to have. To have cash flow problems like, how do I pay my employees while I do it? Okay, let me increase my business line of credit, relationships with the bank. These are good problems to have, because I was in a position before where I didn't have these problems. I had other problems. Point is, there are always going to be problems. There's always going to be starting. There's always going to be, I am not ready. So that whole thing about starting before you're ready, it's not just a one-time thing. It is a forever thing. You're forever going into places where you're not ready. Forever taking that exposure therapy to. Anyways, go ahead and read the super chat.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, somebody in the chat room is asking, is this Ike from the Kevin Samuels chat room? The answer to that question is yes. This is the same Ike, aka Super Chat Jesus, that people affectionately call him. Yes, that is the same Ike. Shout out to Corner Store Podcast. He says this video reminds me of Jay-Z's Renegade. Ike's dress game is killing you on your own show, Bernie. Of course, I can't compete with Ike on the dress game. I can't do it. But but that is funny. That was a classic line actually from Nas's Ether of Jay-Z when he said Eminem murdered you on your own. Try not to cuss to keep this clean. And yes, Eminem did murder Jay-Z on his own song. But anyway.
I agree.
Yeah. But anyway, you definitely said some good stuff about starting before you're ready, and then new problems will come once you're already there. New problems will arise, and as those new problems arise, then you're almost at a new de facto starting point. Once that new problem comes, then you're okay. Then let's start right here. Let's work from there. And if you could do that while still maintaining everything that you've had going thus far, then that's good. And once you climb that hill, then you've grown, and then now you've expanded the operation, so to speak. And now you got another hill to climb. And then once you climb that one, you've expanded that. It's a constant, ongoing, growing, developing process. It doesn't end. And those new problems are problems you want to have. You want to have that problem. Yep. Like when I just talked about, like, for example, when I referenced the Fresh and Fit podcast and everything that they got going there, I don't understand how they do it. I don't understand how they got like 17 mics there. I don't know how you got that many cords connecting to some team that's on some motherboard behind you, controlling all of that and controlling 4 different camera angles. And I have no idea how that works, but that's a problem that I want to, that's the problem I want to have. Just the basics of just doing it solo with me right here with the camera right there. I got 2 lights set up right there. I got a somewhat expensive mic right here, and in a nice audience that supports the show. And I'm it's going good. It's going well. I got a lot of people, you included, that I collab with, that I do good collaborations. I do good interviews. I have good debates. I got so many things going on to where it's a good functioning, well operating, fine-tuned machine that I have to constantly tweak, but it's a good, well operating machine right now. But it could be better.
How did you learn the moderating skills? Because that particular skill is what makes it such that people kind of gather around here, for example, right? So how did you learn that moderating skill and that fine line of like being able to like you said, you don't get into the beef, but beefs get started, so on and so forth. Is that obviously it's a skill that you're bringing in, right? But how did you fine tune that and hone that in? How did it improve over time or develop over time?
I don't think this is funny. I don't think I'm particularly great at it, but I think it could definitely be better. Sometimes I say that I need to go to just full blown mute everybody's mic one at a time. One person speaks uninterrupted 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, you're next. You get 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, you're next 3 to 5 minutes. Yes, I know that so-and-so just misrepresented you and strawmanned your argument, so you can't jump in and interrupt. You got to stay on mute for 20 minutes so I can go through everybody else, then you can finally respond. O'Shea used to do that, and it used to drive me crazy because I would know that somebody just got misrepresented horribly or just got strawmanned horribly, and I know they want to jump back in, but he's like, nope, we going in order, and they just go in order, and I'm like, oh, man, come on, you got to let them throw a challenge flag or something on the play so we can jump in and respond to that nonsense. But so I decided that I'm not going to do it that way because I do want free flowing conversation, and that's when it gets extremely difficult. And there's no exact science to that. I don't think I'm perfect at it, but I do try to do the best I can to moderate that. Now, you made a good point when you said, now some of it you had to have came with, and I didn't think about that, but that is true. That is true. Going all the way back to high school, when I was on the basketball team, it was probably 14 or so people on the basketball team. There was a few different sects on the basketball team. You know, these 2 guys were cool, but they didn't like those 3 guys over there, and those 3 guys would be clicked up and talking junk about those 2 guys because Tony, who was the point guard, it wasn't into James, his homeboy. When James got in the game, now Tony want to push the ball up real fast and want to drive to the hole and draw the defense and make a nice pass over to James. I'm like, well, why you when Rick or Mike was in the game playing down low, you wanted to come down, dribble up top, and then just pull up like Steph Curry. Now you're being a real point guard and passing the ball, So it was all kind of infights and beefing and all kind of stuff going on. And this group of guys didn't like that group didn't like that group. And midway through the season, I figured out that, wow, I'm the one that's cool with everybody. Nobody dislikes me, and I don't dislike anybody. And I could talk to everybody, and I can communicate. I'm forgetting the names I said, but I communicate James and Rick's perspective to Tony and Mike, and they can get a better understanding of where Tony and Mike is coming from. And I can get Tony and Mike to get a better understanding of where James and Rick are coming from. And that was in high school that I realized that, wow, so when you say that some of it you naturally came with, I was like, I got to acknowledge that, yes, that is true. I was always that guy that was generally good at being objective, seeing both sides of an argument, both sides of a point. Even though I do have my things that I draw a hard line on, you saw that I'm like I can listen to a male feminist, but I'm not gonna reach across the aisle and say I understand where you're coming from. No, you just flat out wrong on that point. But I can listen to you, and he talks. If he talked long enough, I mean, he could say some things that I agree with. but overall, did I? Okay, wait, no, I didn't miss a super chat. But yeah, so some of that being a natural moderator or mediator, some of that I did naturally come with. That's either in you or is not. If you're either good at conflict resolution or you're not. You're either somebody who starts a lot of junk or you're not. And so that's part of just my personality that I can't control. So that part of it you just come with. You can work. I do believe you can work on it. Excuse me. You can work on that, but typically people tend not to have a problem with me. Like I heard somebody say that it was some YouTube. I'm not even going to talk about who it is, but they mentioned, and this is a person who falls out with a lot of people, but they had mentioned that Bernard Riley is just not that kind of guy who you just fall out with, who you just have a utter outright man. I'm trying not to cuss, but he's just not that kind of guy that you just end up doing that with, that you just have some cussing them out shouting match with. And that's generally how I've just been my whole life. Like if I'm to the point where I'm cussing somebody out and they cussing me out, it's I barely even understand how to even get to that point. Like it's just not in me. That's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I normally think before I speak, very conscious about, I choose my words wisely, but there are times in life where you do just need to be aggressive and perhaps flip some tables over, but so that's why I said it's a good thing and a bad thing. Because as a man, sometimes you do have to get really aggressive and regulate a situation in an aggressive way that really makes the point bold and blunt. But there's a way to go about doing that without having to flip the table over either. So yes, some of it is natural, some of it that I did just naturally come to the table with, but I don't think I have it mastered down to a science, because sometimes things get out of control, and some people will email me or send a message in the chat room like, hey, you need to do a better job at getting this particular kind. But normally when people do that, you want to know what it really is? The person who they agree with didn't get to talk as much on that particular show, so now I'm a terrible moderator. But if I would have let the person they agree with just run over the whole damn show, then they would have been, oh, you're a great moderator. So normally that's what it is. I think I do a good job at least making sure that people are heard. But if a man goes rogue and against all that's reason and logic and all that makes sense in man world, I should say, if they just go full sisterhood or gynocracy on us, then okay, it got the objectivity is done. We pulling out all the stones and sharp sticks and sharp stones, and we're ready for war at that point if you just go full sisterhood on it. But Sunjata Reborn says, peace, brothers. I just joined the stream, put in my tithe in the plate. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Silent Sir. Oh, I said 5. Oh, wait. Wait. Well, I double back on you. Hold on. Silent Sir in the building with the $10 super chat. Appreciate that. I was so used to playing the 5. I forgot to play the $10.
What do we get for $10? Everything you want. Everything? Everything.
Shout out. Appreciate. Salute to both of your brothers dropping that $10 on the table. Appreciate you. But yeah, Goshen says one's moderation skills are situational. Yeah, That is how it is. That is how it is.
I think you're pretty good at it. I think that it is, again, a kind of skill that you bring in, and you said, "Oh yeah, this is kind of part of my." It is a personality thing, right? It is part of your personality, and you did not sit down and plan that. You did not understand how this was going to be instrumental to the niche that you're going to feel in YouTube, right? So people don't understand that there's certain things, not to do the whole that snowflake thing about, oh no, you're unique as a. But people don't understand that there's certain arrangements of personality, particular skills, particular experiences, that when they bring it to the table, insofar as they've chosen to start something, which if you choose to start something, you're already in the minority. You know what I mean? So it's not a question of being Einstein, it's like most people are not even starting. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you choose to start something, you're already in the minority. You have a unique set of skills and experiences and personalities. It'll all form into some amalgam that'll find a place in the market, again, because there you have customers, right? And a market, they'll fit you in somewhere. And there is no way that you can run that computer code and pre-plan that. You don't know how it's ever going to happen. And somebody mentioned misogynoir in the, because that kind of reminded me, because it's like, compared to the guy from last time, I'll take, because what misogynoir was doing was more coming here and calling people simps. It's different from what that guy was, right? You get what I'm saying, right? He was more like, take responsibility. What the hell's wrong with you? Yes, they're all messed up, but take responsibility. What this other guy was doing was completely different. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? Because you interviewed misogynoir, right? Before you kicked him out of the manosphere.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to remember, because my take on misogynoir, that he wasn't saying, okay. He was saying a lot more than that, what you just said, right? And you said he was just saying, yeah, women are crazy, take responsibility. That's one thing, and I get that part. And we do talk about that a lot in this space, that there's the calling out the female effery, the female chaos, like we've talked about. There's one aspect of it where, yes, we do call that out, we do talk about it, and some guys need to hear it and understand what it is so they know it when they see it, because some guys just don't click on that. People are at varying levels. Like, you're obviously at at the highest level when it comes to that, to where you understand exactly what women are, what they're going to do, what to expect, and how you're going to react to it. And then there's some guys who are gaslit into thinking that, oh no, it's your fault that this woman is conducting herself like that, and you just need to do A, B, C, and D better, and then she will stop acting like that. So again, there's one aspect of what's talked about in the manosphere where, yeah, we're talking about the effery that they do, and then there's another branch, wing, or department, so to speak, where we're talking about male accountability and how to react or counter it, so to speak. And so if somebody is just 100% in the how to counter it, how to react to it, or how to move, like we talked about, how to move given the fact that we understand exactly what it is and what they're going to do, how do we move going forward? If somebody is just strictly in that lane, I can respect their opinion and perspective. I didn't get the feeling that that's strictly what he was doing. I think I got the feeling that he was doing a little more than that. But
the way you say it makes it sound like a personality thing. Because whenever someone says, okay, there's something about, I don't know exactly what he was doing, something, it's a person. In other words, he was a bit of a troll, and he wasn't hiding that either. He wasn't hiding that he was a troll. Right? But the reason I brought him up, because I saw the name, and then I kind of like, oh yeah, you interviewed this other person. I'm like, you know what? I'll take misogynoir over that guy from yesterday.
I will too.
Yeah, because misogynoir, you could tell at least he was doing the logic thing, even though sometimes he's trolling. But you could tell he's I
have to go re-listen and figure out, because right now I kind of want to welcome him back in, just as somebody who could just take the link every now and then. But that's another thing about me too. if enough time goes by, I have a tendency to either forget or just whatever somebody did to make me say, "Nah, I'm done with this person." I will end up, if enough time goes by, I will end up not caring what happened before, and then gradually let that person get. I'll give another chance. Put it like
It's a
that.
good trait. It's a good trait. You're not gonna die of a heart attack early, you know.
Yeah. But I'm fumbling to remember exactly what it was that made that was the straw that broke the camel's back with him. But I definitely
I remember what you when you pushed the button on him. I remember but I'm not gonna repeat it because I'll let you go relive the experience. But it didn't even have anything to do with the topic. He just trolled on somebody about. It's one of those things that it's almost like, you know how when Kanye said slavery was a choice, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like something like that he said, which it's technically true, but you have to know how to say it. You know what I mean? Because everything's a choice. Like you can choose to go out there and then get killed by the Germans out there in World War II. Or you choose to go along with the plan. You can't, as a man, you can't say, "Oh, I didn't have a choice." You had a choice. You chose to stay. Yeah.
Well, I remember what the thing that that I kicked him off for. It was he kept throwing out some grandiose plan or whatever, and then he was being asked, "Well, why aren't you doing it?"
Oh, and he was like, "I'm not gonna do it. You guys do it."
Yeah, he was like the average IQ for the average black person is so and so. So yeah, you idiots go do that. I'm not going to do. I'm going to sit up here on my tower and watch you people do it. And then Game Changer said, "Well, did Martin Luther King not march with the people that he was leading or whatnot?"
And then he
said, "Yeah, and that's why he got shot."
Exactly. That's why I didn't want to say, but it's one of those things that is technically true, right? If he was hiding, probably wouldn't have. If he was hiding behind the scenes, probably wouldn't have got. But it's like, why? His troll was just too. He didn't. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
But yeah.
Anyways, we got derailed again, but he's a good fun. If you bring him back, I'll watch.
Yeah. But all right, where were we? Right? Goches, he said the passage of time does not excuse many things. Yeah, and then that's why I agree, and that's why I acknowledge that it's sort of a flaw that enough time can go by, and then I'll get a little numb to whatever happened and not even care. And then give the person another chance, and then I'll be like, that's why I.
Yeah, I think I think Goshen's agreeing with you. He said does excuse. He does not say. He didn't say does not.
Oh! I thought he meant okay. I assumed that he meant does not, but he said the passage of time does excuse many things, but technically it shouldn't though.
Yeah, remember I like to bring up this personality thing where the other day I talked about sensor versus intuitive, and I say Kevin Samuel's a sensor. You're probably a sensor too. And then there's another part, which is the you've heard people talk about this ISTP, INTJ, blah blah blah, whatever. So there's a J part, the judger. That's me. I'm the kind of person that is like, okay, this is it. I've made it. I put you in a box. I put you in a category, and it's hard for you to get out of that category. It doesn't mean a judger, someone whose personality has that J thing, doesn't mean they're judgmental. That's what people tend to think it means. It just means that we tend to close files. For people like you, and it's a good thing. It's just the file is always open. It's like you can always reopen the file, right? Like, let's reopen the file and reassess. For people like us, we tend to close the file, right? And that's more of a tendency that we have. So I think that both types of people, obviously both types of people are needed. And a lot of the prospector types actually tend to they're more like scouts. They go out there and they map out the land correctly. While people like me are just like, okay, it's like we build fortresses, we defend, you over there in that category, I don't deal with you, you in this thing, good. Like it's very much of an engineer type of personality, and surprise, that's why I'm an engineer, right?
Yeah.
But prospector, that's kind of how you're describing yourself to be. It's like, I'll reopen the file. I'm willing to reevaluate and that kind of thing. And it's not a bad thing at all, So I'll say, yeah, rock with it. It's probably why also you're a good moderator.
Possibly. Yeah, I could see that. It's funny when you talk about the J people, the judgers. Another person who fits in that category would probably be like a Man of Tomorrow, because
that. Oh man, that is the ultimate judge.
he was doing it. This was a while back. He was. It was somebody I had on my panel, and it was a while back, and he was like, why is he here? He's been defrauded. Get him out of here. It was like, I'm like, dude, it don't work that way. but yeah, he tried to. He's on multiple occasions tried to come up here and Joe Clark a few people. I don't know if you get the Reverend Joe Clark took over the principal at Eastside High. It was certain people. He a list of certain people that he determined to be miscreants. He called them up on stage by name, and like, they are gone, excommunicated. Get them out of here. We putting chains on the doors. We not letting them back in. That was so. Yeah. So MOT is definitely one of those to where I can come back. I can have a conversation with somebody that I disagree with. MOT, and once he judge and assess that you are categorically this thing right here, you should not be spoken to whatsoever. It's nothing to talk about. It's done. And so yeah, that's somebody who definitely would be the judger.
Yeah. So if okay, we started a little late, right?
Well, yeah, we started at 10:15, 10:20-ish.
10:20-ish.
Well, we 2 hours and 15 minutes in. So I mean, we got a little time. We normally do 3 hours. So
got it. So we got time regardless, even if we wanted to. Okay, good. So I asked you last about, this kind of skills that you brought in, which we segued into skills that you brought in, and we also talked about the things you had to learn, camera, blah blah blah, and then we're talking about this whole starting thing. That's the main kind of if you will, principle that we've been kind of circling around with this thing. You also mentioned about networking, which is somehow Obsidian shows up in your channel, right? Oh man, right? So how did you learn, or how did you start the networking? Because it's a key aspect in any business, right? Most of it tends to be organic anyways, and so on and so forth. But just from your experience in the particulars of your YouTube journey, you started the channel, and then how did you start? How did people start coming in? How did you reach out to people and all those kinds of things?
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that, because when we were taking a trip down memory lane of my YouTube channel, using it as a case study, talking about somebody just getting out there in the gig economy and just starting something. And I've said this once, I'll say it again. You can't write the history of my YouTube channel without Obsidian. There's no way around that. That was when I reached out to him, that was a landmark moment where the whole trajectory of my channel started going in a different direction, started angling upward, so to speak. And so the way that worked out is, like I said, I started going live in January. Did it for like a month just to show that, okay, I can do this. Went live every day, Monday through Friday, for a whole entire month, by myself, just to show that, okay, I can talk for 30 minutes to an hour. Well, a lot of times it was just 30 minutes. Let me just see if I could talk for 30 minutes uninterrupted. Not pre-recorded, live on the air. Probably was like 10 people listening. So let me just see if I could just speak uninterrupted for 30 minutes, put the link in the chat. Normally 1 or 2 people, 3 people, whatever might come up, and we'll have a conversation for another 30 minutes, call it a show at an hour. Eventually, I'll start gradually with every now and then be, okay, I went 40 minutes, I went 45, I went an hour, I would do that, and it would just, so I did that for like a month, just to show that I can do it. That goes back to that proof of concept thing. I need to bare minimum show that I can actually do this before I, reached out and started trying to formally network and collab with certain people. And it goes back to that filling a need thing. Obsidian was not on YouTube at that moment. He was doing his live show on Mixler. People wanted him to come back to YouTube. So I was like, that was another one of those beard stroking moments where, you know, because he was de facto back on YouTube. You probably don't even know or remember, it was a channel, it was a woman named YouTube channel was a Renaissance Woman. I think that's still what it's under, but yeah, she's not really posting content right now. At least I don't think. But it was a time when she was pretty active, and Obsidian was kind of collaborating with her on a regular basis, and that was everybody's de facto, you know, everybody who was missing Obsidian on YouTube, they would go there, and I was going there, you know, and I was getting involved in the conversations there. That by then it was a link in the chat room days by then. So I would take the link every now and then, or I would take I was taking a link to Obsidian's channel before he left YouTube, and then I started, you know, I would be on there on Mixler here and there and everything, but it was a contentious situation over there, to put it mildly, with the individuals over there in the manosphere, and I knew eventually that was going to break up, and so eventually that marriage went through a little divorce or separation, and then so it was an opening. People wanted Obsidian back on YouTube. His other spot that he used to hang out at, that fell apart, so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and start going live. Let me show that I can do this for a whole month by myself. And after that, I did reach out to Obsidian, and you know, more or less put a business offer on the table, to just put it mildly and say exactly what it was. It was a business arrangement, like, but you know, nobody could tell. It just looked like that. Hey, I just invited Obsidian over. He advertised. He advertised it on his show on Mixler. He posted in his community tab that he was going to be over here. And at the time, the most people that I had on my show at any given moment was no more than 17 people. That first collaboration I did with Obsidian, where he advertised it and posted in his community tab that he was going to be on my show. He posted in his community tab like an hour before he came on, maybe 2 hours before he came on. And from there, we had 177 people in the building on that particular show. And I picked up a lot of subs. And then after that show, I was able to go live, and instead of having anywhere from 10 to 15 people in there, I was able to have, you know, 45 to 60 people now, because that audience came over, and coupled with the fact that I had did a strategy that you've seen a lot of people do, where they hop on panels and give their take and their perspective, and people like, hey, I kind of like listening to what this guy got to say. You should start a channel. So I was already hearing the, hey, you should start a channel. You should start a channel. You should start a channel. We're doing the collaboration with Obsidian. That was what formally let people know, oh, Bernard has a channel now. And so a lot of them subbed, and a lot of them started coming here. And then gradually, Obsidian would just come back, you know, just naturally, just organically, just come back and just hop on the panel, or I would be talking just by myself, just blabbing, and Obsidian would be in the chat room, and I put the link in there, and he'd come up, and when he would come on, those views would start going up, because everybody was missing Obsidian on YouTube. So when I saw that every time Obsidian came here, my views went up, and then I think we started, you know, organizing it. Yeah, I can't remember the exact moment when we just started organizing it, like, hey, let's do a show on this topic. Let's do a show on that topic. Let's do a show on that topic. And around that time, I started making money. So I was like, hey, if you're going to keep coming back over here, you know, I would make a little bit of money. I'd throw them a little piece of the pie, you know, like, hey, keep on coming back. They want you back here. So I was doing what I had to do to keep them here. I was doing what I had to do to keep him here, and that got me in the algorithm that brought out Alan Roger Curry, because, you know, Obsidian has a way of summoning Alan Roger Curry that ultimately led to Angry Man popping up on my channel with when Obsidian was here. That ultimately led to Kevin Samuels coming on my channel. So through Obsidian, I got connected to a lot of the other, you know, bigger movers and shakers in the manosphere. So once I got connected with all of them, and I gradually started doing one-on-ones with, you know, a lot of other people. And then that's where the networking really came in, and it took off. And then I started networking with everybody. And then once it got to the point to where that took off, it got to the point where, okay, now my channel has legs, and now it's growing, it's moving. Now I can bring in, people who have smaller channels than me, and then I could spotlight them and I could interview them, and gradually it got to the point to where now I could interview some, for lack of a better word, some I don't want to say some no name person, but like, okay, I'll use this as an example because shout out to Little Big Nate. Before he had a channel, before he ever thought about having a channel, I heard him speak one time, and I was like, "Hey, we doing a one-on-one." I heard him spit one paragraph, and I was like, "I'm doing a one-on-one with this guy." Didn't know much about him. He has a great channel right now that I think is going to be extremely successful. I think his channel is going to be extremely successful. He just did a follow-up video to the stream I did with the male feminist who goes by the name Paco, and Little Big Nate called it I think Little Big Nate versus Paco the pillow biter. You can use your imagination on why a man would be biting a pillow, but anyway. All right, so shout out to Nate, the pillow biter. He's calling people pillow biters, but anyway, but somebody like Nate who didn't have a channel, I didn't know much about him. I just heard him speak and knew that he had something to say. So I started doing like that, a lot of smaller interviews with either smaller content creators or content creators who weren't even content creators yet, and that, so I guess I fine-tuned my interview skills with bigger YouTubers. Like, for example, when I would do a one-on-one with Angry Man, he would share it in his community tab, and I would pick up a lot of subs every time, and I would have, at the time, it would be almost if not a full-blown record-breaking amount of views. I mean, I've since broke that record, whatever me and Angry Man used to do, but we would have a record-breaking amount of views a lot of the time, and I would pick up a lot of subs, and a big name like that. And I look at this from a business perspective. So yes, when I would do those one-on-ones with Angry Man, I would make more money than usual. I would get more views than usual. I would pick up more subs than usual. So for his time, talent, energy, effort, and everything that he brought to the table, to where he just made my channel grow and get bigger than what it is, only right I pay him for his time, trouble, effort, and talent. So from that perspective, somebody significantly bigger than me who actually helped my channel grow, and I would treat it like a business and do proper business and pay them, for their time, so to speak. So that was one aspect of the networking, and people with channels that's roughly the same as mine, I wouldn't be paying them, because it's mutually beneficial at that point. But even then, sometimes I would, if I did a one-on-one with somebody and when they go live, I might drop a big super chat on them just as, just a little thank you. But for certain people, yeah, it was like, hey, if I bring you in, I'm gonna, we're gonna do business, so to speak, because your channel is bigger than mine. You have no reason to. You don't have to come here. It's not really helping you that much, even though it could be argued due to the amount of active subscribers that I have. There are some people with bigger channels than mine that I got less subs, but my subs are very active. So it could be argued that my channel is bigger than a lot of people whose channels that appear bigger than mine. But even then, I still, looked at it in terms of business. Somebody's, talent that they've put in for a while building their audience. If I'm going to benefit from their audience, I would want to, grease palms a little bit. So yes, there is a business aspect to it, and I did take to it and run it like a business. And as my channel grew, and it grew, like I said, I don't want to say off the backs of certain major content creators, but yes, people like Angry Man coming through just to hang out, just to take the link. Somebody that big just coming by just to hang out and join the panel and chop it up for a whole hour or sometimes more. Somebody like Alan Roger Curry doing that. Somebody like Kevin Samuels, even before he started blowing up, he still had a big name in this space, and it helped dignify my channel that he would come and hang out. And then obviously with Obsidian, BGS Ipmore used to come and just hang out. Like you name the big name, they all have came here and hung out and helped my channel grow. I can look at the analytics and see when these people come through, I can see it, the views go up, the subs go up, everything goes up. If I can either get a one-on-one with these people or if they just come and hang out. And then so I used that and then moved on from there. And I said, okay, now let me, more or less help out other people. Let me get with people with smaller channels than mine. And then once me interviewing people with smaller channels than mine, I was like, okay, I'm getting the same views and making the same money, sometimes regardless of who I have in the hot seat, who I have in the chair. It's still going great and it's still going well. So it just continued networking from there, so networking from there, reaching out to this person, reaching out to that person, interviewing this person, interviewing that person. And it's when you start doing that, collaborations is the best way to grow a channel. That's YouTube one-on-one with collaborations. So collaborating with lots of different people. And some people don't like to do that. Some people like to make sure that they're the star of the show. I don't have to be the star of the show. My name is on the channel. I could bring somebody else in and let them, spit the hottest 16 bars. I remember Johnny Carson said that no matter what comedian comes on, if he cracks a joke on my show, it's my joke. I don't know exactly what I think I understand what he mean by that. He's basically saying, yes, this person is talented, very funny, but that joke that he made it on my show. So people came to my show and they laughed and had a good time. So I don't have to be the one always cracking the joke. I don't have to be the one making the best point all the time. I don't have to be the one who's doing all the magic tricks and spinning all the plates. And that plate spinning term has a different meaning in the manosphere. So let me not confuse anybody. But yeah, if you're collaborating with people and the success is ultimately shared, you can end up stepping back and being a moderator, and then you could, for lack of a better word, use other people's talent. And once my channel is growing the way that it's growing, I'm helping those people out. I'm giving a lot of other people subscribers. I'm helping other people grow their channels while I'm using their talent, their insights. So look at the Hood Servative, David Monroe. He's a very talented guy in this space. I like the things that he talks about. And he was somebody that I was interviewing before he had a channel. I love doing that. I love seeing somebody who has an interesting take, interesting perspective. I bring him in, and he does his thing. I normally, before he even had a channel, me and him would have great views as if he was a big name because he's just good. Mm-hmm. And so that networking is masterful. It's what it's all about.
I think you broke it all down. And people tend to think, because you're an introvert, back to the whole personality thing again. You're what they call an ISTP. I think I got you. I think I got you nailed down. But anyways, you're an introvert. A lot of people tend to look at this whole collaboration, marketing, reaching out to people, networking thing as maybe it's an extrovert thing. How do I do that? So on and so forth. There are a few things that I can abstract from what you said, which is you are something first before you go start looking for collaborations, right? Because we all know that guy that hasn't done anything, okay? Hasn't started and failed at anything yet. Does not have any customers of their own. Does not have anyone that can vouch for them, but they're constantly coming to you, wanting you to join up with them on some silly venture of theirs, right? We all know that guy, right?
Yeah.
People in the chat, you know that guy? You got that guy in your life? Let's call him James, right? James is always the one talking about how we got to do this. And you know what would be dope? If we did that. You know what, Bernard, you're really great at this thing. How about we come together? And James doesn't have anything that he is doing on his own, okay? So we all know James, right? There's always a James lurking somewhere in the group, in the network. The thing about the network is you have to be a viable node Otherwise, there is no network for you. You know what I mean? The chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If you're a weak link, you're not even in the chain. You're not even in the network. People like James, they tend to think that people like you, Bernard, are keeping something from them. That, why don't you bring me in, Bernard, is the kind of thing they say, right? You know this type of mindset. And you're thinking, there is no bringing you in. It's you got to be doing something, right? You already had a channel. You already did in other words, there's a progression to what we've been saying. If you say, start, you're not going to be ready. Get the customers. Be comfortable with just doing what needs to be done. A task begun is half, or task once begun is half done, right? Then after you have an entity, you're somebody, you're something, right? You got this Bernard Riley Show thing. Then you organically go and you start communicating. You say you went to Obsidian Split, you go to panels, you do this and that and the other, right? And then when people want to then link with you in that network, there's a node there that's viable, because network is made of nodes, right? And there is a node there that's viable that already has something, and then you can, boom, okay, there's exchange. You said you even paid people. It was a business proposition that you made.
Yeah.
See, the Jameses of this world think that you guys have some kind of secret boys club, right? And you guys are just doing this stuff with why don't you bring me into the network? That is a ridiculous and also a very, it's even worse than the fixed mindset, okay?
Yeah.
It's part of the,
but real quick, what I will add to it, part of it is it's a meritocracy. It's a to use Jordan Peterson's terms, it's a hierarchy based off competence. And what the competence comes down to is, yes, for example, let's look at it like this. Truth, the guy, the Lionel Richie, the one with got the best, he got the best hair in the business, you know what I'm talking about. I think he has a unique take and perspective. He speaks fluently, he speaks clear, he's on camera, looking good with the fancy hair. I remember one time I went, and I could see the little bang blowing in the wind. I was like, oh. So shout out to Truth. He came through and he had a lot of good stuff to say. I think he adds to the conversation, even though he adds a lot to the conversation. And so I reached out to him for a one-on-one. He's waiting until he gets ready to start his channel. So when he does the one-on-one, there'll be a link that he could drop in the chat to send people there where some content. So I guess he wants to get that going first before a one-on-one. And so somebody saying, hey, let me into the boys club. Let me into this. Okay. When you joined a panel, what did you have anything to say? Was it interesting? How much value did you add to the conversation, to use that value term? Do you add a low or high amount of value to the conversations that you engage in? That has a lot to do with it too. And some people, and yes, sometimes we have, just a random link in the chat. Anybody can come up with a scratchy sounding cell phone and they're barely putting sentences together in a cohesive way. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I tend not to do that. I've normally, if I give you one or two chances and you can't talk, you can't speak fluently, you don't sound clear, you're not making any sense, I will leave you in the back chat. That's normally how that goes. So who gets to come up and speak and become a part of this thing? Yeah, it does has a lot to do with your talent, with your ability, with how fluent of a speaker you are, your thoughts, your ideas, your perspective. You don't have to come up here and split the atom, but you do have to, even if you disagree with the conversation that's going on here, you still got to offer something to the table. Like the guy, he used to go by Black Ground Radio. I forgot. I saw him in the chat today. What does he go by now? I forgot his new name, but he used to go by the name Black Ground Radio. I think that was his name. I don't know how I'm forgetting the brother's name. He will come up and give good pushback and good disagreement, and we'll have good conversation. and good. No, not RBR. No, hell no. I'm not talking about RBR. But he will come up and give good pushback, and it'd be good back and forth and good debate. And then sometimes he'll completely lose it and blow a gasket and say something crazy. But before that happens, there's normally good conversation to where even though he's disagreeing, even though he's pushing back against the manosphere, I do think he's adding value to the conversation. So that's an important part of it too, that a lot of people don't average into the equation. How much value are you adding to these conversations? Because there's some people that, I mean, I hate to say it, they've been around for a while in this space, but when they open their mouth and talk, they'll get on a panel and try to talk the most, but say the least. It's like, I can't let you up. But you're not being ostracized or excommunicated from, or you're not being treated unfairly is what I'm trying to say. Let me just say that you're not being treated unfairly. You're being treated in right in line with what you're producing. Put it like that.
So I think that what's on the it's kind of funny because this person put this on the super chat before we started talking about this. But basically, Dr. Umar Johnson, let me fix this here, is the James that we're talking about, right? Right? He's that person that is saying, hey, man, go ahead and contribute. Go ahead and give me something. But he has not put his stuff on deck. And also, Mr. Or Miss Snuggles said something that this is about that value to the group aspect of Kevin Samuel's 6-point thing, right?
Yeah.
Recognition and value to the group. You need to bring value. I call it, you need to be a viable node. Otherwise, there is no network. It's like people think, it's like, what do you think this network is about? Like just people doing charity? It's like, no. If you don't have a strength, if we cannot transact, if there's no value for value exchange, then there is nothing, you cannot be brought in. So you need to start something. Goshen said earlier that, he was using my James example. Like he said, James is always looking for the hookup, but does not want to invest in himself. They don't have, it's like I'm in the music industry too. People always want to be featured in your track. And they're like, well, where are your tracks?
Yeah.
Where's your audience? What are you bringing? Have you been tested in the marketplace? No, I just want to get the hookup. And then you typically not very good either. That's the thing that boggles the mind. These people typically suck. It's not some kind of genius coming off the mountain just be like, hey, Bernard, hook me up. It's like, no, because the people whom are good and bringing value to the table and so on and so forth have already been vouched for. Again, that whole thing about recognition is another one of Kevin Samuel's 6 points, right? They're recognized by the group. They bring value to the group. That's how you network, okay? This is a key aspect here, okay? That's why I asked you about, how did you get into this kind of networking thing? I'll let you hook up the super chats while I fix my little microphone.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're you got a low value mic stand setter. Whoever set up your mic stand didn't they didn't meet the competence requirements of setting up mics. Sick lid in the building with the super chat. Shout out to you. Appreciate that. Umar says, men should donate their skills and time. No, it does need to be a mutually beneficial arrangement. Does need to be a mutually beneficial arrangement. And for going back to what I said, I understand that even though I got a thriving, growing channel, and Angry Man, cool, he don't mind doing a one-on-one with somebody who's up and coming in this space, but I even with me having a growing, thriving channel, I understood that him doing that one-on-one, him doing a one-on-one with me when my channel was very young and still growing, I understood just the enormity of who he was. That was far more beneficial for me than what it was for him. So it only makes sense in that perspective for me to do something to equalize that benefit. Otherwise, I'm the guy saying, hey, Angry Man, can I get that hookup? Why don't you hook me up with a one-on-one and share it in your community tab so I can siphon some of your subscribers? No, I want it to be mutually beneficial. I'm not trying to, not trying to get over on somebody or take from anybody, So so that only makes sense. There's a certain amount of value, and I understand everybody needs to do that, because I understand that some people just just like to do it however they do it, and they just ask the person to come over for a one-on-one. If they come, they come. They don't. Is what it is. No big deal. That's how I did it, and I think it was beneficial for the growth of my channel to do it that way. It may very well have been the case that Angry Man might have just said, "Hey, Bernard, you a cool dude. I see what you're doing, and he probably would have just came over and just did it, without me putting any money on the table. He probably would have, because he was taking a link to my show without me putting any money on the table. We just taking a link because it was just good conversations happening over here, and he was just participating in the conversations. But I understood that if he's coming over doing a formal one-on-one on my show, I understood the overall benefit that did to my show when my show was young. And like I said, I'm just started out just sitting off camera, sitting at my dining room table with a Yeti mic. And here he has been building this machine for 5 years. He come and do a one-on-one on my show. It's far more beneficial for me than what it is for him. So it only made sense that I pay him for his time to eat to balance that out. So that's people. A lot of people don't look at it like that. So from a networking and business standpoint, yeah, that's vitally important that you do that. And I'm using Angry Man as an example, but me and Obsidian have, wash, rinse, and repeat that concept, early on in the show. Like somebody mentioned the Obsidian versus the Black Love industry. That was that same concept going right there. I'm using Obsidian's name, his everything that he's built, and it's being used over on my channel to grow my channel. And those shows did great numbers and made good money. And then yes, I gave him a piece of the pie after the money came in. That was how that worked out. So it's about running it like a business. That's a vitally important thing. So as nobody is saying, it's coming hat in hand, like, yo, can I get that hookup? You don't want to be doing that. You want to run it like a business. And so that's ideally what you want to do. Ideally what you want to do. And there are some situations, let's just say that there was no negotiated amount, or we're going to split the money, or this or that, or blah, blah, blah. Let's just say something like that happened with say a content creator or so. And let's just say there wasn't that much money, because sometimes, not that much money may be made, or not that many views may happen, but just the idea, the notion that you and somebody who's bigger than you came by, and, you do want to compensate if possible. You don't want to take a loss either. You don't want to take a loss. You want to make sure of that. Let's just say if I only made $40 on the super chat that with a particular content creator, and I'm not gonna just pay him $200. I'm only $40 was made. You got to make it make sense, So yeah. So but long as you're not taking a loss, and long as the exchange is equitable, then I see good business taking place.
It's not about who you know. This is one thing about networking. It's about who knows you. Okay. You and I know Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, right? It doesn't mean we're in his network, right? So it's not about who you know. You can know all kinds of people, but do they know you? So hence, exposure is key. And especially, look, this whole thing, and I know we're probably drawing towards the 3-hour mark and whatnot.
Closing in on it. So, and
as I thought, and I anticipated that this was going to go a number. This is probably going to take us 10 streams, okay, to cover this whole thing about success in the 21st century, right? So everyone is broke. That's the basic thing, all right? You need more money than you think you do, right? To live the life of that particular guy in the 1950s who just worked at a particular plant, at the Ford Motor plant, and was able to raise a family, wife didn't work, retire, so on and so forth. You need like $500,000 a year, okay? Okay, we're men, so we're like, okay, cool, that's the reality of the situation. We have this thing called the gig economy, which is just another index of economic insecurity, right? So people need to be more entrepreneurial, okay? Hence, putting yourself out there, this also merges with the technology of social media, right? Networking. Putting yourself out there and having people know you is a key aspect of business. Even before social media was around, right? You know, whether you're some kind of a plumber out there, you had the yellow pages or whatever it may be, word of mouth, all these kinds of things, okay? So being able to utilize this thing is absolutely key. You may not understand why right now, why it helps you. In other words, me being on YouTube, for example, I've met certain people that have helped my engineering business. Did I plan that? No, I didn't plan it. I found a new chief operations officer, right? By being on YouTube, right? And then met this person, chopped it up, just started talking about ideas and so on and so forth, found out what they do. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, you seem to be a competent, capable person doing this kind of thing, blah, 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 blah. And that came in. So when it comes to networking, it is about who knows you. Put yourself out there. And also you get to control your own narrative because you can be canceled. But it's harder to cancel people whom already put their information out there. Barack Obama wrote a book way before he was president talking about all the dirt that he did. Joe Rogan is hard to cancel because everybody knows all his dirt. He's been out there talking about all the crap that he does and all the drugs that he takes since forever. You're not going to bring something up and surprise anybody about that. So, but when you have that clean, coiffed image, you know, or people only see you in the cover of a magazine, and then that's when you're able to be canceled. That's when you're fragile, right? So, start something, grow something, get a customer in this particular thing. Starting is key, and it's the hardest part usually. You want to know how to start? Well, take a page out of the book of the exposure therapy people, which means just one step at a time, as in don't worry about step 3, just look at step 1, as in just go to the page, call the guy whom you want to go ahead and fix their computer or whatever it is kind of skill that you have. You think you got some haircut skills, whatever it may be. You want to open a lawn mowing service? Ask your neighbor if you can cut his lawn. That is your customer, because the customer is going to give you immediate feedback, and the customer is going to make you responsible, is going to pull you into the future. And then now we're talking about this networking thing, which is absolutely key. But one thing I would like to kind of say before we probably run out of time is that versatility is key to this whole entrepreneurial landscape. Versatility is key. In other words, you came in, Bernard, you came from the trades or what you were doing before, and then you're like, okay, let me branch out into this other area here. I didn't know that I'm speaking as you now. You didn't know that, okay, your particular personality style of being able to will lead to you being a better moderator than most. You didn't anticipate that, but you decided to stack up some other thing on top of what you already knew before. Now, let me give you an example in real life, because people tend to think, okay, let me take example of electricians. I like electricians. I like using electricians a lot as an example. You guys are electricians, okay? Or let's say you're carpenters. You work for a commercial carpentry operation, a commercial construction company, a commercial electrician company. You guys are doing office buildings and so on and so forth. Both you and your neighbor, you only have that job. Your neighbor, right, decided to get into, quote unquote, the gig economy, the entrepreneurial thing, by also on the weekends doing residential electrician work, right? You might be thinking, why does he have to do that? We work for the largest electrician company in the Bay Area, Cupertino Electric, right? We're doing well. He's going out there at 5 a.m. in the mornings with a rickety truck, and I'm chilling, watching the game with my buddies, drinking beer. We're all good. Then what happens? Chaos happens, which is the law of the universe, okay? Coronavirus happens. What happens to commercial business? Commercial business goes down. People are not going to offices anymore. What happens to residential business? It goes up because people are home now. They need to do rewiring of the surround sound system or their new computer thing or whatever it is that they're doing. They bought solar panels, whatever it may be. Electrician work in the home is now going up. Guess who wins now? The person who is more versatile, right? Versatility, though, means you're going to be less efficient. There are trade-offs to everything in life. So, but versatility is what gives you long staying power. What I mean by less efficient is just simple. The guy that has the commercial job plus the residential job is like a stool that has 5 legs. You could say it only needs 3 legs, okay? But the stool that has 5 legs is going to be around longer because it can sustain 2 legs getting knocked out. You that only has 3 legs, coronavirus comes through, knocks out 1 leg, and boom, your hours get cut or you get laid off from the job because what do you know, the company can't keep you anymore. The commercial business has gone way down, right? So always move towards that area where you may be less efficient, okay, because you're doing something extra, but you never quite know what the universe is going to serve you. It's back to that whole thing about starting and not knowing exactly where you're going to fit in the market until you actually go in and have a market, have an audience, have people tell you what the product market fit is, have people tell you what you're good at and what you suck at. So versatility here is the key to longevity, okay? But there is a trade-off between versatility and efficiency, and just know that. And that example that I gave is a real-life example. Commercial work did go down while residential work went up in the electrician world. Okay, so the person who had that side gig the whole time, and you're thinking, why does he do that stuff? You know, going Saturday, Sunday, spending, he's working 16-hour days. I am just good with my 3-legged stool. I got my job. Guess what? You're nice and efficient. You specialize in one thing, but guess what? You're like a 3-legged stool. One leg gets knocked out and you're done. And in this economy, in the current landscape that we understand, which is there's no security, you're just looking for disaster, right? I don't know if you had any thoughts about that. I want to read any super chats before, I go on about that stuff.
No, not specifically. I didn't have any, didn't have much to add right there. Shout out to Sick Lid in the building, says treat your business like a business. Says shout out to Sister George. I didn't know what exactly that comment had to do with Sister George, but he says I was cheating on you with the breakdown that's on right now. She said this about 3 hours ago. I still don't know why you're mentioning her over here. She's still suspended. I said I'm going to remove her suspension on Monday, because due to the mass quantity of effery that she's displayed, and she did good. I didn't catch her committing any major infractions, but she kind of did on Little Big Nate's show the other day. So I may have to extend her suspension. So I don't know. We'll see about that. All right. But shout out to Sick Lid. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Appreciate it.
What do we get for $10?
Everything you want.
Everything?
Everything.
All right. But no, good stuff. We are closing in on the 3-hour mark. I'm looking at everything that we had charted out here and trying to see that we there are some things that we didn't quite make it to. You said, how did I consider the entertainment factor? That is a really good one when it comes to this YouTube thing, because yes, you want a balance of the term. I don't know who coined the phrase, but educate, entertain, enlighten. Those three right there. You want to educate. You want good information out there. You want to enlighten people, but you do have to entertain people. I think Ramil Amir, and I asked him about this when I did a one-on-one with him. Ramil Amir is one of the ones that he's really good at doing a stream on. He could do a stream on trucking. He could do a stream on investments. He could do a stream on real estate, how to short sell real estate. He could do a stream on all of that and still pull 300 live viewers. Ramil is so he's one of the ones, and he don't get enough credit for this. He's truly mastered that, how to give an educational stream and still hit the numbers. And then he could turn around and do a stream on, talking about, this is why you pump and dump, and highlighting something that some ratchet chick did, and obviously he's gonna kill it with the numbers on that, because this space was built around, talking about women. Good help, whether it's a productive conversation or an unproductive conversation. Either way it goes, I like the way Zero phrases it. Dylan. The space was created to deal with the social contract between men and women. That I think that's a good, fair assessment of what sprouted up the manosphere. I mean, yes, other people will add different details and different layers to it or describe it a different way, but this algorithm was built around, men who like to ultimately have discussions about women, whether we're talking about dating or mating or just whatever. Even if we talk, like me and you had what I consider to be a next level type of conversation about it. And we were talking about how to fix the problems in society on a macro scale. We talked about, the unchecked female chaos in the West on a macro scale. How does good or thinking men solve the problem? We talked about how to deal with it on a micro scale. You as an individual, what you're going to do given the situation, and then on a macro scale, how do you put that toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak, on a macro? So again, there are lots of different conversations that can be had about women from lots of different angles. It can merge over into the political, the social, the cultural, the everything. Or we could just be to put it bold and blunt, just talking about pussy. So either way it go, there's lots of conversations that could be had about that. And those are the conversations that get the most views because that's truthfully what the algorithm was built on. But
and the thing about entertaining that you said, which is I think what you're going on now about being entertaining, right? There's an American writer, Tom Wolfe. He died recently. Writes great books, by the way. Tom Wolfe, check him out. And he said, the rule is this, and I don't care if you're giving a speech because you won a Nobel Prize, if you're giving a lecture about the physics that made you win the Nobel Prize, or you're giving a YouTube lecture, or you are writing a book, whatever it may be, the rule is first entertain, okay? And people are like, what do you mean entertain? Like and this is, what does it mean? Okay, what is that thing that Ramil is doing? Okay, this is the thing about entertainment. It is allowing people the ability to allow people to pass their time with ease. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's easy to listen to him. It's not jarring, it's not boring, it's not weird, it's not breaking up in flow. So different people have different ways of bringing it up about. Ramil does it by, saying things that are kind of crazy and like, oh, you N-words, you give up, that whatever, blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff, right? And the way he sounds and he brings in emotion to it. So you're like, it's engaging. It's easy. It's the path of least resistance. It pulls you in. Other people will do it. Like for me, for example, my thing is oratory, okay? It's like you speak well. You don't go ums and uhs, and you don't sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You put your words and your structures together such that someone who's listening to it doesn't have to struggle, right? That is entertainment. People think, entertainment is frivolous. And, when I'm going to give my paper on film, I'm going to talk about a serious topic and I'm going to talk about it seriously and boringly. No, that's BS. First, entertain. It doesn't matter the context that you're in. You need to make sure that whomever is listening to you is not, that is the easiest thing for them to do. In other words, their attention is getting pulled in different directions and it's going to find the path of least resistance, and that's the most entertaining path. And if you cannot do that, you don't blame the audience. Don't be like, oh, well, they don't. No, it's your damn fault. Find a way. Feynman, for example, Richard Feynman, right? You know Richard Feynman, right, the physicist? He is able to give entertaining physics lectures.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Exactly.
That's my hero. I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is excellent at talking about. He has a show called Star Talk. Where he will bring in celebrities. Somebody could have been starring in a movie or whatever. He'll bring them in. He'll interview them. And really, he's just talking about, he could be very well just talking to some Hollywood celebrity about a movie, but he knows how to have that conversation, have a good, fun, entertaining conversation, but steer the conversation back to his pet subject where he's going to end up talking about, okay, did they get the science right in this particular aspect of the movie? And this scene right here where they had to go out of space and they went to Mars. Okay, how much time does it take to get to Mars? blah 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 blah, and he'll break down scientifically, and he'll give the movie a science score, and so he's having a normal pop culture type of conversation, but he knows how to make it merge with science, and that's a skill. Being entertaining, it is a skill, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is one that's really good at that. I interrupted you when you was giving.
No, I think it's perfect because again we're running into the how much time do we have? It's not like we have a hard time, but in terms of 3 hours, how much time do we have left?
Well, we're right at the 3 hour mark, but we can
good.
Go ahead and we can finish up. We can.
Yeah, let's kind of, because this foreshadows the kind of the follow-up things, because I think that perhaps when we start next time, we'll continue with this entertainment thing, but it blends right into a particular skill, a soft skill, right? And we'll next we'll talk about certain hard skills and soft skills, because again, let me take a step back. How did we start this whole thing? Being successful in the 21st century. What the hell are we talking about? There are a set of skills that are going to be useful, and there are a set of skills that are being phased out. These particular things hinge upon technological changes that we can hitch our wagon to, right? There are also socio-economic and demographic changes that we can kind of project and see trends and say, hey, where are we going? We said that also there are mindsets and also habits that need to be formed. And then we are starting out with the mindsets and the habits because we are in a situation whereby there's something called the gig economy, which is just an index of economic insecurity. Hence, people need to become more entrepreneurial. And then we're using your YouTube channel as a way of how do you start and sustain things. Okay. And then we'll kind of go through that. You got to start something. A task once begun is half done, so on and so on and so on. However, we're now at this point about talking about certain kinds of skills, which people call soft skills. And I don't care whether you're on YouTube or whether you are a plumber. That thing about being entertaining, or a physicist like Feynman, there are many Nobel Prize winning physicists, okay? But you know Richard Feynman. You don't know about those other guys. So success, though, he is more successful, therefore, in certain ways, in terms of impact, leaving a dent in the universe than those others. Why? Because he added this other thing, this little thing called being able to communicate to his regular brilliance, right? So the idea of stacking talents, okay, is absolutely key. I always say this, like you can be 0.01% at something if you're trying to get to the top. Let's say you're Tiger Woods, golf, or you're Einstein in physics, so on and so forth. You can be 0.01% in that kind of thing. Or you could be like top 10% in like, let's say about 10 things. Or you could be like top 20% in a few other things. In other words, you don't have to be brilliant, okay? The one at the top of the top of the top. All you got to do is add things to what you already got. So you're an electrician, go join Toastmasters. The reason why I'm bringing up this Toastmasters thing, because this one particular skill in the stack is the biggest differentiator. In other words, the ability to speak, the ability to communicate, because it also goes along with your ability to think, right? And people think that thinking is just a simple or natural thing and that it has nothing to do with communication. No, your ability to communicate goes hand in hand with your ability to think, and your ability to influence people and get your way in the world is unless you're going to use guns, right? Unless you're going to use guns and mallet and hit people over the head, you're going to need to use, I'm talking game, guys, okay? Here.
I was just about to say, yeah. I was going to use the word game. I was going to
exactly.
Game in there.
But so just like MOT, I don't have a problem with game. I just have an issue with you trying to use game to give women what they want, because wherever you are playing the game of what does a woman want so I can give it to her, you're already in chaos and disaster land. You don't understand how the world works. If you give women what they want, you're going to end up in a gutter. And women don't even want you to give them what they want. Women want you to be a man. Women don't want you to go with the ups and downs and, I like him with the swag this way and I want him to talk that way. Jesus Christ, man. I get all heated. just thinking about the stupidity of a lot of men thinking that, let's go find out what a woman wants and give it. It's like, get the hell out of here, man. Anyways, but regardless, your ability to speak and communicate is closely tied with your ability to persuade and influence people. And that is a huge way of living your mark in this world, because we are social creatures after all, right? So I think that we're going to segue into that particular aspect of the soft skill, using entertainment here perhaps as a focal point, because the ability to have people listen to you with ease without having to think, is there something easier for me to do? Is this jarring? Is he going and is he shaking, or is he being boring? Does he not know how to use tone and things like that? That is absolutely critical. I don't care what else you're doing. So that is a talent that you need to add to whatever stack of something that you have that would completely differentiate you from the pack.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Good stuff. I like what you said there. I like that we can end it on that one. And just to add to that, the people who complain, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the people who complain and say, hey, in this space, people don't like to listen to this kind of content, or they don't like to hear about this, or they don't like to hear that. Like you said, that's if you're making that complaint, you're being being a band. It's on you to figure out how to package it. She got something in my eye.
It's an opportunity.
How to package it, how to sell it, how to make it entertaining, how to be the difference between Neil deGrasse Tyson, who has millions of views all over YouTube. People just want to hear him talk about science. They want to hear him talk about astrophysics. How to be the difference between that guy and then the stereotypical scientist who got a bunch of papers and notes and or got on a dirty lab coat and fumbling over his words, and he's using a lot of big words and don't know how to make it relatable and don't know how to get it to where people can understand it and process it, or he just a guy with the pocket protector with a bunch of pins that just looks unrelatable to the average person, even though he's probably brilliant. Mm-hmm. He knows his stuff just as well, if not better, than Neil deGrasse Tyson. But sorry, something is in my eye. I got to deal with that. But knows his stuff just as well, if not better, than Neil deGrasse Tyson. But one of them knows how to sell it. One of them knows how to communicate. One of them is doing it the right way, and that makes a huge difference. I love how you said that. Yeah, what did you say? You didn't say an electrician. You said I'll just say you got two electricians, but one of them took Toastmasters. What did you say? Electrician was the word. Was the
electrician? Yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay,
example.
I forgot. Yeah. I thought it was something else. But an electrician. One of them took Toastmasters. That guy has an extra soft skill to where he's going to communicate with people better. Somebody needs an electrician. They call one guy and he's blah 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 blah, and then the guy who took the Toastmasters is going to really break down and explain in a very fluent way to where he's going to understand exactly what needs to be done, and this is the problem, and this is how I can help you, and this is what I can do for you, and it's going to be, and he's going to explain it just right, and then who's the person going to buy from? So just by that person learning that soft skill, he just went from he maybe increased his business by 50%.
And he's going to get recommendations from these other people. He's going to be more comfortable going out there to the association of electrician, whatever, and talk and become the head of the whatever, this blah, 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 blah. People are going to know him. Again, networking is not about who you know. It's about who knows you.
Exactly. And with that said, this was a good show. We didn't even need a panel, man. So yeah. So we'll be extending this one out. This was real good. I definitely enjoyed this one. I like to thank everybody who came on through today, everybody who liked, shared, subscribed, did anything to participate in this in any way, shape, or form. Make sure you go sub to Ike if you're not subbed already. Make sure you go sub to Ike. I'm dropping his link in the chat one last time so you can go sub to Ike and get the wealth of information that he has to give over there. And just once again, like to thank everybody. We do this every Sunday. So make sure you're here. And with that said, we are out of here. Peace.